Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight I am very honored to have this guest on, Dimitri Moraitis. He is the co-author with Barbara Martin of Heaven and Your Spiritual Evolution, a mystic's guide to the afterlife and reaching your highest potential. I haven't finished the book, but I've been reading it. It's a pretty big book, actually. I'm really enjoying it. It takes you on a journey through the astral realms, afterlife, reincarnation, auras. Gets in all those kind of metaphysical topics we love to talk about on the show, and I'm sure Dimitri is going to be a wonderful guest to talk about these things. And of course, later in the show, we will open up the phone lines for you to call in, ask your questions, share your experiences. And of course, we got a lot to get to in the World Wide Web of Weird. The world just keeps getting weirder and more dangerous and scary, right? Yes, and even including, we're going to get a little bit into Nostradamus and Baba Wagner predictions some more. We did some of those in New Year's, but Paul Seaburn from Unexplained Mysteries has a great article on their predictions that might relate to the ongoing war in Ukraine. I thought was really good. And of course, like I said, a lot of other weird stuff to get to. Great guest tonight, so let's go ahead and get rolling on into it. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight's guest, Dimitri Moraitis, co-author of Heaven and Your Spiritual Evolution, a mystic's guide to afterlife and reaching your highest potential, will be on after the World Wide Web of Weird, after our first commercial break. I've been reading this wonderful book. It's a very, very big book. A lot here. Well worth it. And I find it very interesting. I can't wait to have Dimitri on. I think it's going to be a real treat for us tonight. Want to give a shout out tonight. I got an email from a listener, Ethan from Denver. Thank you for the email and the encouraging words. I definitely appreciate it very much. Anybody wants to email me, it is Paranormal Soup, the letter J, and my last name Bland at gmail.com. So that's Paranormal Soup, jbland at gmail.com. If you want to email me, words of garbage are great. I need them. I don't make any money doing this show. I do it because I love it. So thank you, Ethan. And you know, to a fellow Trekkie and Star Wars fan out there. That's to you, kid. Okay, probably not a kid. All right, so joining me as always is my beautiful co-host, Jamie D. And he also said thank you to Jamie and Rob because they are great co-hosts. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing great, thank you.
Wonderful to have you on. I'm going to miss you guys. I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, family vacation, and not going to be doing a show for 2 weeks. So I will miss you guys, but we'll be on PUBG. You know, we're going to get on PUBG. Yes, and our fellow squad mate here, Rob Autry from St. Augustine, Florida. Hopefully, I don't know yet. I'm hoping, gas is horrible. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to drive down and see you in St. Augustine at some point during the trip. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but I've never met this wonderful man in person. We've known each other, 5 years, 6 years? And I'd love to be able to meet you and Jamie in person one of these days. I'm hoping this time, hopefully, Rob. I don't know, but glad to have you on. How you doing, Rob?
Doing pretty good. Maybe I can meet you halfway if you don't come all the way.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, the gas is awful. Yeah, perfect time. Whenever I try to go to Florida, the world's doomed. So I always say it's a couple times I've tried, and things that the world-wise go kind of bonkers when I try to go. But it is time for our family first vacation, and I will miss you guys for 2 weeks. I will really miss you guys doing the show, but we will be back. We'll be back. So don't freak out when you don't see Paranormal Soup for the next 2 weeks. It's just, a little vacation, and then we'll be back. We do have a lot of weird to get to, so let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight in the World Wide Web of Weird, I thought I'd start with this really interesting, I guess, sub-article of Unexplained Mysteries. Mysterious Universe, by the way, was Paul Seaburn. I said Unexplained Mysteries because I read those a lot, too. But when I said Paul Seaburn earlier, correction, Mysterious Universe, Paul Seaburn, for the article we'll have a little bit later in World Wide Web of Weird. But tonight's first one's from Pentagon UFO Files, include Encounter with Werewolf. That got my attention. It's actually Unexplained Mysteries take on a article from military.com that covers all these files that are coming out from the Pentagon releases. For those listening on the Paranormal Soup Radio Network, we are a webcast. We stream out live to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch every Sunday night. Come join us if you want to watch. I'll narrate as best as possible. But yes, this first article it got my attention, I will say. And it is more of a summary of a longer article of military.com. Pentagon UFO files include Encounter with Werewolf. That just got my attention right away. For many years in the Pentagon, this is from Unexplained Mysteries, like I said, in a connection with the Defense Intelligence Agency, ran a secretive program investigating the connection between UFOs, or UAPs now, I still don't like that, and paranormal phenomenon. During the interview with military.com, retired DIA intelligence officer James Letkowski, if I'm saying that right, and a retired CIA operations officer Jim Semivin, I don't know if I got that right. Both worked on secret programs, had lifted the lid on some of the strange cases that were investigated during that time. And, a lot of this comes out of the secret program. This isn't that old, these stories, as I find interesting. These investigations included that of the U.S. Nimitz UAP sighting, as well as that of the Skinwalker Ranch, a property in Utah notorious for being the home plethora of strange phenomenon. According to Litkaski and Simivan, the three men were sent to investigate the ranch were left terrified after they witnessed what was described as a black void on the property. Even more unnerving was the fact that they also reported experiencing paranormal phenomenon after returning to their homes, such as strange noises and sightings of dark figures at night. Sounds like shadow people. I mean, I'm just saying, you start sticking your nose into some of this stuff, and yeah, you got a shadow person that follows you home. In a separate incident, the family of the investigator who had been looking into the U.S. Nimitz case reported witnessing a wolf-like creature which walked on two hind legs, staring in through the windows of their homes on 2 occasions. When asked about them, however, the Pentagon was unable to confirm or deny any of these cases, of course. The longer article, like I said, for this is military.com. There's a lot of weirdness in there. The stuff coming out of the Pentagon files. How true it is, I don't know. But I find it interesting, the relationship between people seeing, Bigfoot, dogmen, werewolf-like creatures in connection with UFOs. All right. And it looks like they were investigating much more than UFOs at the Pentagon. It wasn't just some aerial sightings by military craft. They were actually looking into some more weirdness, like Skinwalker Ranch, All right, let's move on. Next up, I love maybe this is my Goonies in me. I love the find of a lost treasure ship. I do find these interesting, and one of them, the most famous ships that people have been looking for forever has finally been found, and that's the Endurance, if you're not familiar with it. Now, the original article is from The Guardian. I got the Unexplained Mystery article to make it a little bit shorter. Iconic vessel has been finally discovered in the waters of Antarctica some 106 years after it sank. It had long remained one of the most sought-after undiscovered shipwrecks in history, but now following what has been described as the world's most challenging shipwreck search. I'm butchering that. The vessel sailed into the history book as part of Sir Ernest Shackleton's ill-fated Antarctic expedition in 1915, has been finally located around 3,000 meters beneath the Weddell Sea. Incredibly, the find happened to coincide with the 100th anniversary of Shackleton's funeral. It was found by a team aboard the S.A. Agulhas 2 research vessel, which left Cape Town a month ago. We made polar history with the discovery of the Endurance and successfully completed the world's most challenging I cannot say shipwreck search, said expedition leader Dr. John Shears. Images since have emerged showing the remarkable preservation of the vessel, with its names clearly displayed on the stern, as well as the ship's wheel and other features. I mean, it's really preserved because I guess there's no microbes in this Antarctic water to eat the wood. So it's completely preserved. Yeah. I mean, it does look like something like right out of Goonies, the ship. I mean, it's awesome. I have to say it's awesome. They say it's a milestone in polar history. And they can't recover or take anything due to a treaty as well. That's, in those waters. They're not allowed to touch that ship. They can just take pictures of it and move on, and it'll be down there forever preserved. I don't think anybody should touch it or do anything with it. Just leave it where it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when they find stuff here in Florida, they can't really dig it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's history. It's there. Don't touch it. Okay, let's move on. All right, what do I have here? Oh yeah, I got a snake, man.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Everybody, Rob loves his snakes, and I hate snakes. This article makes my skin crawl. CBP officers find 43 horned lizards. I don't like lizards much either. And 9 snakes in and under man's clothes. San Diego U.S. Customs Border Protection officers at San Ysidro port of entry thwarted a significant smuggling attempt after discovering 52 reptiles tied up in small bags and hidden in and under a man's clothing as he tried to cross the border of the U.S.
I got a snake in my underwear, man.
I got a snake, man. The incident occurred about 3 a.m. on February 25th with CBP officers encountered 30-year-old male U.S. citizen driving a 2018 GMC truck and arriving in San Ysidro, if I'm saying the right, border crossing. The CBP officer referred the driver and the vehicle to further inspection during the examination. I'm sure this guy looked highly suspicious because if you got like 52 reptiles on you, you're like, why is your clothes moving, sir? Oh, no, man, I don't have a snake, man. I don't know. CBP officers removed a total of 52 bags of reptiles, later identified as 43 horned lizards and 9 snakes, which were concealed in the man's jacket, pants, pockets, and groin area. How could you do that? How could you do that?
Honestly, I'd rather stick 24 snakes in my underwear than any horned lizards.
Oh, my God. Smugglers will try every possible way, no kidding, to try and get their product, or in this case, live reptiles, across the border, said Sidney Aki, CBP Direct Field Operations in San Diego. In this occasion, a smuggler attempted to deceive CBP officers in order to bring these animals into the U.S. without taking care of their health and safety of the other animals. The poor reptiles that were up his butthole.
Wow.
Seriously, dude, how do you sit in a car with... Oh, God. Makes my skin crawl. There's, I mean... They have other pictures in this article. I can't read the whole thing, but of like the horned lizards and stuff. Like they're not. I mean, they look kind of big. I mean, like and the snakes.
Horned lizards are like they're not comfortable.
Yeah, and he had them in his clothes. Like all the.
You
look at the bags.
Snakes
of
are
these.
like smooth and squishy,
Oh, slither. Oh. I mean, is the money that good in these pets for him to bring them across the border?
It depends on what kind of snakes they were, but horned lizards aren't that. I'm not shoving them.
I mean, does he stand on a street corner and go, "I got a snake, man"?
I got a snake, man. Open a jacket.
I'm not a cop, man. Like, is it that underground deal? I don't know. Like, why is it worth it to put snakes and reptiles in your clothes to get across the border? Oh my God. Okay, let's move on. All right, where am I at? All right. Next up, let's talk about a cursed painting. See, I'm the type of person I won't put snakes on me, but the people think I'm crazy because I might be interested in the cursed painting.
Yeah. How much is that?
I'm a sucker born every day, right, for eBay for this kind of stuff. I don't buy this stuff, though. I don't. My wife would kill me. If I was a single guy alone and into the paranormal like I am, I'd probably be in big trouble. Man claims to have been cursed by haunted painting. The man who bought the painting for just $50 from a flea market maintains that it ruined his life. Now I want to sell it on eBay. Dan Smith, who claims that the former owner of the piece had warned him that it would bring him nothing but misfortune, took seemingly erroneous decision to buy it anyway. At a glance, the painting, which shows what appears to be a baby girl with her doll, seems innocuous enough, but according to Smith, it has caused no end of problems. Since bringing it home, he has reported experiencing what he describes as an epic losing streak, which has included an inability to sleep, insect infestation in the house, and the loss of pets. In addition, it left him feeling miserable, lonely, and anxious. He's now seeking to get rid of the thing by selling it, guess what, on eBay. I don't know who's
somebody else's life.
Right. Just give me some money. I'll ruin your life. Yeah. I don't know whose cursed blood was mixed in with the paint to create this piece, but its powers are strong, he wrote. I am starting the auction at $50 is what I paid for it, but I'm hoping it goes for more. I'm sure you are. To make up for everything I've been through. But before you bid, you've been warned. Seriously, nobody bid more than $50. Please just give him $50 and take it. And I don't know. Why not destroy it, you wonder? Well, sure, setting the painting on fire could rid the world of the wickedness brought out by the piece, but it could just as easily unleash the evil, he said. Yeah, that's general idea. Don't burn it. Don't burn it. Who's to say that by burning it, I'm not just going to make things 10 times worse? I agree with that statement. Don't burn it. That's not what to do.
I mean, clearly the little girl in the green, her head's already on fire, so...
You know what you do? I say wrap it up in this doesn't always work. Wrap it up in a nice linen cloth and get some cement blocks and go dump it in the lake. Water is supposed to cushion the keep these things down or whatever. But then you hear about the watery thing ending up in the bed when you come back.
Yeah,
that's how it works in the horror movies, right?
What's that watery footprints down the hall?
Yeah. And they'd be little baby doll footprints too.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's move on. But yeah, seriously, I mean, Zach Baggins, where are you? That's what this guy's hoping.
Yeah.
He'll sit there and outbid everybody on it. He needs one more cursed object.
Mommy, I want to play.
Yeah. All right. So next up, another auction bid for Zach Baggins. Maybe no. We get these stories once in a while. I'm fascinated by bleeding objects. We once had a church not far from where I lived as a kid that supposedly had a crying, bleeding or crying. This was a crying one, and it turned out to be a leak. It got a lot of attention for the church though, and they kept it really quiet when plumbers came up there and figured out, oh yeah, that's why you got water leaking through the wall. They didn't tell anybody that. Yeah. Doesn't mean these things aren't real though. Doesn't mean they're not real. I even then I thought, I've always been open to the possibility of anything, that I do think these events are real, and I don't know if this one is. A woman in Colorado believes that she may be witness, this is from Coast to Coast, Tim Binnell, believes she may be witness a miraculous St. Michael statue in her home that has suddenly explicitly began bleeding from its forehead. The curious case reportedly began on the evening of February 23rd in Denver suburb of Broomfield, as Alicia Martinez was talking to a friend on the phone, and her roommates frantically alerted her to something weirdly happening in the residence. Upon cutting her call short and going to find out what all the fuss was about, she was stunned to see a peculiar liquid substance resembling blood was trickling down the face of her statue of St. Michael the Archangel, subduing the devil. It was dropping like when you cut yourself and the blood drips out, Martinez recalled. Of course, if you watch the interview they have on the newscast, it's all in Spanish. Martinez recalled explaining that he's not crying, he's bleeding from the forehead. Understandably uncertain as to what to make of the wondrous sight, she mused. It didn't feel like it was something bad. It was an inexplicable sensation, but it was beautiful. Martinez later sought advice on the matter from a friend who is a priest, and she was informed that the incident was a marvelous occurrence that meant her house is blessed. When she subsequently talked to a religious sister about the statue, it was conveyed to her that the strangers would stop when the blood reached the head of the devil situated beneath the foot of St. Michael. Amazingly, Martinez says that is precisely what happened as the bleeding continued for approximately 1 week until the substance had flowed all the way down to the bottom of the 30-inch tall statue where the face of the Prince of Darkness is situated. While all this was unfolding in her home, the bewildered woman captured the video of the odd occurrence, and yes, there is a video, but I'm not going to play it. Quickly removed the footage after several people accused her of trying to orchestrate a horror hoax. That's right. I couldn't get the video. Pushing back against those assertions, Martinez declared that this is not a fraud. This is not to become famous. None of that. I know it's something divine from God that doesn't happen to everyone. I mean, yeah, she's not going to get anything out of it, really. A little bit of attention, but I mean, to go through all this, I believe her. I believe that these occurrences happen. It does happen. It's happened for hundreds of years. And Christian religion, people have reported these occurrences. I don't think everybody's made it up. I do believe it's real. And I find it interesting that they told her it would stop with it reaching the devil. All right, we got to move on. We're getting tied up into that. All right, let's move on to the next one.
What if the people that built those statues, just like, you know, I mean, they were built by a human. What if they just had a sense of humor and went, hey, we're going to put a pack of blood in the forehead of this thing?
You know, I thought it would be interesting. Like, how long have you had the statue? Where's the provenance of it? How, you know, does it have anything to do with the statue? Like, yeah, but that would be a really hard stunt for statue makers to pull. Maybe it's a conspiracy by the Catholic Church. They make all these statues that will eventually bleed. I don't know.
Yep.
Some people may say it happened right when Ukraine was being invaded and had something to do with that. I don't know. All right, let's move on. We're running out of time here. Just things could get better for 2022. Japanese killing stone said to contain a chaotic demon for 1,000 years, split in half.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, it's about that time. In case 22 didn't have enough, and this is from, what is this? Some of the article here. I think it's like, iflscience.com. Case 2022 didn't have enough terrible omens already. An instant legend from Japan culture has reared its dreaded head. The Seshu Seki, I'm going to butcher that, killing stone is said to seal the spirit of a vengeful demon from the outside world, and it is split in half. Large volcanic rock said to immediately kill anyone that touches it. The Seshioseki stone is deeply embedded in Japanese mythology and is said to be the transformed corpse of the mythological Tamu no Mei. Tamu no Mei was supposedly a beautiful woman whose spirit was possessed by nine-tailed fox, or kitsune, a demon spirit known for trickery and deception using a disguise. We're going to run out of time here, though. Known to answer any questions asked to her, Tamu no Mei was part of a plot to seduce and kill Emperor Tobo, who fell sick. To result, the fox spirit was exposed, hunted by two mythological warriors, and the spirit was embedded itself into the Seshu Seki stone as a last resort, which released a poisonous gas that killed anyone who touched it. Eventually, I guess Buddhist monks blessed this thing and released the evil spirit or sent it on its way. So they're saying, just because it's split in half, it's just erosion. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to see here, people. It's not the end of the world.
Move along. World War III. Move along.
Yeah, it's just erosion. I don't know. But then now, it's, of course, all the tourists are gaping, going, ooh, demon.
How many people are touching it, running up, rubbing it? You know?
Mm-hmm. What idiot's going to be enough to try to take a piece of it home?
Zach Baggins.
I mean, really, asking for Zach Baggins. No, he'll find the idiot who gets it and then sells it on eBay, and he'll just buy it. He won't do the dirty work. Yeah. Zach Baggins, man. He can just pay the top price for the idiot that grabs it first.
Exactly.
Okay, let's get on to this last one. I was talking about this from Mysterious Universe. I love Paul Seaburn's articles, and I need to get the guy on the show. I remember Heather Wade had him on at least a couple times. I should reach out to him. He'd be an interesting guest. He was on her show. But I love this article because I was thinking about this recently, and he wrote an article. You know, we had covered Baba Vagna and Nostradamus predictions for our New Year's show. And then a lot of people and myself thinking, oh, what did they predict? Did they catch any, call anything out for Ukraine? And I don't know if I have time to read the whole article. Most people only hear the name Nostradamus Baba Vagna around the New Year's Day when the predictions of these famous psychics are rolled out for the coming year, like we did on the show, and check for success and failures in the predictions on the prior one. We did exactly that for our New Year's show. However, once in a while, the world is rocked by a major and unexpected event, and that's a good time to see what these two may have predicted and what the outcome might be. Let's first check with the big dog, Nostradamus. I don't know if I have enough time for this. They got one quatrain here. Twice put down, this is a quatrain from Nostradamus, twice put down, the East will also weaken the West. Its adversaries, after several battles, chased by sea, will fail at the time of need. I'm doing my best 1980s Doomsday Nostradamus impression. When pursuing through the quatrains of Nostradamus for matches to the current crisis, this one is generally seen as a prediction of world war between East and West. Ukraine is west of Russia, as are the NATO nations, while as alleged allies China and North Korea are to the east. Speaking of North Korea, this is another quatrain. Sudden death of the first personage will have changed and put another in the reign. This one was interpreted to mean that the death of North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un due to an unexpected accident. Remember, though, he faked his death?
Yeah.
Just to get his adversaries out. So we won't know if it's true. Let's get to Baba Vagna, though. And Paul points out, these quatrains are so vague and they're so up to any kind of interpretation that you really can make a lot out of anything. I'm not saying Nostradamus, there isn't something to it, but that's the big problem with it. Baba Vagna is more of a modern day, and he goes on to here, said, on the other hand, Baba Vagna named names and places, and many of her predictions, like this one, said to have been given to the Russian writer Valentin Markovich Sidorov. I butchered that. Baba Vagna died in 1996, while Vladimir Putin did not become prime minister until 1999, and president for the first time. The prediction was, all will thaw as if ice, only one remain untouched. Vladimir's glory, the glory of Russia. That was her prediction. I missed that part. So, I mean, she was kind of calling him out as going to be the leader of the world before it happened. There's one of her predictions. She's gotten stuff wrong, too, though. Let's see. What else did she say? Too much it brought in a victim. Nobody can stop Russia was one of her predictions. All will be removed by her from the way, and not only will be kept, but also become Lord of the world. Now, she's getting a little vague, too, and they just call it out, She was modern. She died in 1991. I mean, she could be a little more specific. If you're a Baba Vagna believer, these are not good signs. However, she may have also predicted two unexpected solutions to the 22 rise of Russia and Vladimir. Here's one of her predictions. A team of researchers will discover a lethal virus in Siberia that was up until now frozen due to the catastrophic effects of global warming. Said virus will be released and could quickly spin out of control. What's good about that? Alien ships. Here's another one. This is great news. Alien ships will attack Earth and they will bomb cities and take people captive. None of it good. None of these predictions good. When we get a prophet's going to predict something good, I don't know. If I'm a big believer, Star Wars fan, in the whole. I always love what Yoda said about the future. Like, I do believe you can see the future. I've had my experiences. I have seen the future. I've had things happen. I've seen the future. I think it's possible. But I, like Yoda, believe the future's always in motion. So, I don't know. I've never been a big fan of Nostradamus, Baba Vagna, or any of these prophets. I think it's interesting. But in the end, I think the future's always changeable. It's always in motion. I don't think these, especially Nostradamus, they made these predictions way long time ago. So who knows? But that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. Our guest tonight is Dimitri Moraitis. He is the author of this wonderful book I got right here. It is Heaven and Your Spiritual Evolution, a mystic's guide to the afterlife and reaching your highest potential. I've been reading this book, haven't finished it yet. I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks in Florida. I'm going to finish it then. It's actually a really big book, really good book. I'm really interested. You know me, I've always had this fascination with the afterlife, and really takes you through that, I guess, the levels and the ideas of what the afterlife is like. I'm really enjoying this, and I've experienced my auras. I've seen all that. A lot of this in this book. I highly recommend it. We're going to get into that tonight with our guest Dimitri Moraitis, co-author of this book with Barbara Martin. But we're going to go to commercial break, and then we will be back with our guest Dimitri Moraitis to talk about his new book, co-author, Heaven and Your Spiritual Evolution.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It is called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Certificate A. Now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The international chart-topping, Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest. The true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe, 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Dimitri Moraitis. He's the co-founder and co-spiritual director of the Spiritual Arts Institute in California, an illuminated metaphysical teacher, healer, co-author of numerous books with Barbara Martin. Dimitri is also the co-creator with Barbara of the SAI programs, course of curriculums, and numerous workshops. Dimitri has been instrumental in bringing Spiritual Arts Institute into place as it is today as a premier metaphysical school. Eloquent speaker on a wide variety of spiritual topics. He has lectured across the country, appeared on numerous radio shows, and leads with Barbara. The workshops and training classes are offered at the Institute. I've been reading Heaven and Your Spiritual Evolution, A Mystic's Guide to the Afterlife and Reaching Your Highest Potential. It is so far a wonderful book. I'm going to be reading the rest of it on my vacation here. I'm going to be going on, but I've always been fascinated since my earliest memories and thoughts, imaginations about what the afterlife was. Maybe I was a bit of a morbid kid, but I always knew, even though I grew up in a non-religious household, that there was an afterlife. There was something beyond this physical realm. And a lot of the ideas have always been innate in me about what it is. And a lot of them I very resonate much with what Dimitri talks about and Barbara in this book. And we're going to get into that subject tonight. I'd love for you to join the conversation. Later in the show, we'll open up the phone lines. Call in with your questions or your experiences. Do you see auras? Have you had a near-death experience and you've seen some of what we're going to talk about tonight? Join in. Join the conversation. I love hearing from you guys. And, of course, we have the chat rooms. We'll try to get to your comments when we can. Jamie's having a little issue with trying to get the comments tonight, so give her some time. Rob's also there. We got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get to our guest. And we got our guest in the waiting room. Let me bring him on.
Hey.
How you doing, Dimitri? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for having me on.
I've been really busy this week. I'm getting ready for vacation. So I sadly did not get to finish this book. I'm like a quarter of the way in, but I'm already totally loving it. Like I said, I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. And some people have referred to me as, well, you're a mystic. So I think we're going to get along great tonight because I have my ideas of what the afterlife is, but I am open to anything. You know what I'm saying? I'm agnostic in essence, that I question everything. Only thing I don't question is that we're more than just this physical body. I don't question that anymore. I don't question the fact that there's an afterlife. I know there is. I've seen enough way at a young age to convince me of the truth. It's just what it is, how it works, reincarnation, which I believe in totally, how it all works. And that's why I'm really, truly enjoying the book, because you really get matter of fact about it and a very honest take about your experiences and of basically, I mean, I don't know what you call it, conscious traveling to these realms.
Yeah, well, you hit a big key. This was a big subject to talk about spiritual evolution, because let's say we've written on the aura, we've written on karma, we've written on the angels, we've written on these subjects individually. But when you're talking about the other side and the evolutionary process, you have to weave it all together because it's all part of the soup, in a sense.
Yes, exactly.
And it was a bit of a job. It was almost like a spiritual cosmology to try to understand, how does reincarnation fit into growth? How is the other side related to here now? When I had my own awakening and I was reading a lot of stuff, I had a roommate, it was many years ago, and he said, "Hey, Dimitri, are you dying? Because you're reading about the world beyond you, like believe." So you sometimes we think of things like the afterlife as, well, the very term afterlife.
Yeah,
it's like feeling like after, but it really isn't. It's really one life in different spiritual dimensions. You're the same soul on the other side that you are here. You're not in a physical body. And as Barbara would like to say, it's kind of like traveling from one country to another. We've kind of been trained to fear death. Animals don't really fear death in the same way we do. I love Woody Allen's line, "I'm not afraid of dying. I just want to be there when it happens."
Yes.
But when we realize it's not so much how we die, it's how we live that really matters. And that dying's a very natural process. And we've done it, if you believe in reincarnation, countless times already.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing it many more times. So it's really understanding. Now, understanding how it works is very important, because another thing that happens when you do actually cross over, you're not like this completely different person. You're kind of more or less the same person. And as I'm sure we'll have time to get into tonight, side isn't one place, it's many places.
Many mansions, right? I mean, that's what Jesus tells us.
The ancients used to call the realms mansions or palaces. That was the terminology for it, right? So there are places, for example, on the other side that are very much like Earth. So if you cross over there, you may think you didn't die. As a matter of fact, people that don't believe in an afterlife, they say, "No, I haven't died. I'm talking to you. You're talking to me. I see you. You see me. What are you talking?" But then when they realize they're not where they think they are, then they do go into a bit of shock, and it does take a little while to adjust.
But are they in that? I have to ask you because I've wondered about this idea that there are some spirits that go to realms that don't realize they have passed on. So what is that realm? Is it just a recreation of their existence here on Earth? Are they just reliving stuff, or I mean, what are they? What is that realm? I know I know it's a deep topic already off the bat.
It's a great question. It's well, first of all, we have to remember something. The other side, the physical universe, is a created universe from the spiritual. So everything, and now we understand how vast the physical is, right?
Right.
Everything here is there and then some. Yogananda, the great Indian mystic, he talked about his teacher. When his teacher passed over, he came back in a vision to tell Yogananda a little bit, what he was doing and what life was like. And there's a beautiful line there where he says, the entire physical universe hangs like a basket on the tree of the astral universe. So there are places on the other side that are very much like here. And then, of course, there are places that are not. There are places that are more, shall we say, evolved, more ethereal. There are places that are more primitive, less developed than here. So there's this far range of experience there. Now, what happens is when you cross over to the spiritual dimension you've earned the right to be at. So it's not punishment or reward. Oh, I've been a good boy, I'm going to heaven. I've been a bad boy, I'm going to hell. It's not really like that. It's more like if I've earned 50,000 watts of power, I'm going to a spiritual dimension that's corresponding to that. And if I haven't, I'm not. So as we teach in our classes, and as Barbara has said for decades, the light you earn is your passport to eternity. So you want to build up that auric power because that is the fuel of your evolution, and that will carry you. You're not going to take your fame, your fortune, your good looks to the other side, but you are going to take your light, and that you want to build up.
See, that's I talk about in the show all the time that as a kid and throughout my life, I didn't realize how much my fascination was with the afterlife until I look back at all my favorite movies, like Beetlejuice, Defending Your Life, What Dreams May Come, which resonated with me big time when I first saw it. That to me, as a kid who grew up in a household with a dad who's semi-atheist a little bit, to a mom who's gotten into Buddhism, and to basically discover what you want, no religion, I went out on a search on my own. I discovered what I feel I've always felt internally since my earliest memories of what the afterlife is, and certain themes have resonated with it. And I have to say, like reading your book, it is resonating in that idea, the same idea I have, even when it came to reincarnation, even before I had the 2 vivid dreams I've talked about on this show. I was shown my past life. Even before those, I knew reincarnation existed. It was in my head. I always just knew. I think that's from past lives.
Right. Well, it is. The past lives are locked in our subconscious. They're kind of partitioned off because some people say, well, if you lived before, why don't you remember it? And I love Gandhi's line, it's nature's kindness.
I think I've always loved that too. Yeah, because you can ask plenty of people.
This life,
Yeah, there's plenty of people out there who say, yeah, I'd like to forget all of that. That's fine. Just let me forget that. I'm sure plenty of you have memories you'd like to not remember.
Exactly.
Like things you don't want. I know I do. I mean, this is my thing. When I was early 20s, I was very getting into the mystical. I actually relearned to see auras because as a kid, I had seen colors around people, didn't understand what it meant. And I find a lot of Barbara Martin's stuff about auras is fascinating. I never had the ability she did to see auras, and still don't. But at my early 20s, I experimented with trying to see them again after discovering what they were that I had seen as a kid. And I did some exercises, and it did. I still can see auras at times if the lighting's right, background's right. I can see people's auras. Sometimes I see it around me, and I also see these blue floating lights at times around people. that'll like fly into their heads and out. So, ever since my earliest memories, I've known the reality isn't this what people tell you it is. I saw a green floating head. Everybody's heard about it. That changed my perspective of reality at the age of 5. I had a witness to it too. So I knew I wasn't dreaming it.
Scary at 5 years old, yeah.
Right. But it opened me up to the idea that about anything could be possible.
Mm-hmm.
And auras was one of those things I tried to rediscover. You get a lot into this. Barbara, like I said, I want to talk a little bit about her because that's really, I find her story, especially her early childhood discoveries and her abilities really fascinating because I think some of the great mystics of our time, all at young ages, could see auras like Edgar Casey, and Barbara. That's what it reminded me of reading about Barbara.
Right. No, absolutely. Well, thank you for asking about her because she is kind of the force behind the institute. Yeah. I've been her student for many, many years. We're quite an age difference. She's a brilliant lecturer and teacher. She's not quite on the platform like she used to be, but what a life. I mean, she grew up Depression era, in the United States, one of 6 children. Her father wasn't only just a Greek priest, he was a builder of churches. So the family kept moving all over the country as they were, building these churches, living on a priest's salary at $60 a month, that kind of stuff. And here's this 3-year-old kid. She said, one day I was, playing with a ball in the living room and I kicked it accidentally into the kitchen. And my mom was at the washing dishes. And suddenly I'm seeing all these colors and bubbly things moving around her. And I have no idea what I'm seeing. And from that day on, I started seeing these colors around people and these energies. And I had no idea what they were. I just knew, when they're pretty, when they're bright, I'm attracted to that person. When they're ugly, kind of, I'm not attracted. And she said it was not always a blessing because if my parents argued or something, I could see this discordant energy that was being transmitted between the two of them. And then she didn't understand that everybody else wasn't seeing them. So she was also getting into trouble. I want to share this one story. It's hysterical because, again, the father was this builder of churches, prominent, the family prominent in the faith, so to speak. And here they're inaugurating, I think, a cathedral, and the archbishop is there, which is the big kahuna, and evidently, in the Greek church, you at the end of the service, you're supposed to kiss the hand of the officiating archbishop or whoever's there. So little 4-year-old Barbara's like in the front with her family, and she's looking at these auras, right? And she's looking at the archbishop, and instead of seeing these beautiful colors, she sees these ugly, grotesque energies around this archbishop. So no, the bishops had beautiful auras next to him, but he had a terrible aura. And when it came time to, get up and pay the respects, this little 4-year-old girl just screamed out in front of the congregation, "Oh no, I'm not kissing his hand. He's a monster. He eats children."
I love that story. Yeah.
And got a big spanking, and multiple things happened. They were waiting for an aunt to come one time. Again, little kid saying, "Oh no, she's not coming. She died in a train crash." And the parents are horrified. How could you say something? Then they get the telegram. There was a horrible accident, So after a while, she learned to keep quiet about it, And then at 11, she was doing this. She was actually in theater. She was joining a theater stock company, and the woman that ran it was very well known in the Midwest. And one Saturday, she asked Barbara to come in. Her name was Dorothy, and Barbara's thinking, "Oh, she's dumping me. She doesn't like my acting." And then this woman starts saying, says, "Well, how do you see things?" She says, "What do you mean? How do you see things? I see things fine." No. How do you see things? And then little Barbara's saying, she's talking about that. And then basically Dorothy said, "You can see the aura, can't you?" And Barbara's jaw dropped. She said, "Oh, is that what it's called?" She didn't even have a name for it.
Yeah.
Then Dorothy says, "I can see the aura too. My grandmother can. We're all Hermetic scientists. And we would like to teach you about your gifts." And so that was the first real lesson in metaphysics. And then how interesting, Barbara comes out later, the family moves to LA to build a church in Pasadena. And by the way, by that point, the mother says they fell in love with Los Angeles in the 40s. And they said, "We're staying here. You go wherever."
Totally different place now.
We found our permanent home, and this was the golden age of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And she started to get interested kind of, in showbiz, and she was actually doing well. but no, they kept the inspiration kept steering her back to the spiritual, and then later she studied with this very fine mystic in L.A., trained her to be a teacher, saying, you're going to get on a lecture platform, you're going to talk about this. Again, this is before even curling photography. But that's what happened.
This is before the 60s even, right?
She was truly a pioneer.
Yeah, I mean, this is there's no internet, no metaphysical chat rooms. There's no books you can find on this stuff.
This
hardly.
show didn't exist back then.
Yeah.
Not even an idea of it.
Yeah. That's why people like Barbara that experience these things. There's no influence. There's no Hollywood or fiction to even influence her. And that's why it's so real. I had a lot of weird experiences as a kid, and that's why I found interesting about Barbara's experiences with like seeing auras. And I watched an interview today you guys did like 13 years ago, and she did a reading on a newscaster, and she just looked at her and boom, laid down a list of what she was like and everything. Exactly. I was like, I can see auras slightly, but obviously she can really see these.
You have what we call a natural clairvoyance. And thank God you didn't shut it down, by the way. Some people in childhood, when they have these beautiful experiences, or even if it's a little scary at times, they try to shut it down, to live quote unquote a normal life. And sometimes they're pretty successful at it. But thank God that didn't happen with you. Now, in general, we say there's a difference between being clairvoyant and being a trained clairvoyant.
Right.
To learn how to focus. Because, for example, if you're looking at an aura, there's so many energies. There's the auric energy, there's the energy of the person, there's the energy.
I've seen shapes and faces in people's fields before, and I don't even know what to make of it. I don't even know what I'm looking at.
That can be, but there's a way to tune in, to kind of like a radio station. You tune out of certain things, you tune into to get an accurate reading, shall we call it that, Now, when you see, you can see images, people don't realize, let's say I'm in love with somebody and I'm just kind of dreamily thinking about her or something. When you can actually create a mental image of that person in your auric field. I mean, we're creating things in our
That's
aura
what I wondered.
Right now. Everything we're thinking this minute is radiating an energy in the aura. Everything we're feeling, everything we're doing, it's all there. The aura is the energetic blueprint of the soul, and everything that's reflected in who we are is in our auric field. When we first started doing the first book was Change Your Aura, Change Your Life. At that time, there was a very simplistic picture of the aura. Oh, you're a green. Oh, you're a blue.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a purple. It's like kindergarten imagery.
No, you know what it reminded me of, which I was like, I got into, and then I realized this is a bunch of crap. Why do I believe? Remember the Celestine prophecy books?
Yeah, I remember that was the big hit in the 90s.
Yeah,
right?
and that's what it just like try to I'm like, no, this is just putting people in boxes. I don't like this. At first I thought it was a good story and I was into it, but when I saw other people I was a 90s kid, teenager, and this is when there's all these, have you read the Celestine prophecy? I'm like, yeah, I have, thank you. It just got to a point where it's like, well, you're trying to categorize all these people, put them in boxes. I don't think life works that way.
I don't understand how that book became that popular, but what you have to give it thanks to is, at that time in the publishing world, there was no mind, body, soul category.
No, it definitely opened people's eyes to it.
And after Embraced by the Light, the other one that was a huge bestseller, the industry realized, there's a market for this. And then, they really started piling it on,
Yeah.
So, but you're right. But, people like Edgar Casey, they were fascinating because, this guy was basically saying things like, if you go to the store and something fell behind a shelf and you would pick it up and you put it on your back for 3 weeks, your pain will go. I mean, he was remarkably detailed in what he was saying.
Oh, he even one of his diagnoses for somebody involved these ingredients that later on were discovered to be the same ingredient, close to the same kind of ingredients and what they were using for a cancer treatment that he was already curing.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Well,
that's how real it is.
He was in tune with the other side, and it was at a time when, again, those things were not really as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, he was a Christian. I mean, it was really out of his range.
Fully reconciled it, so that's why he never actually charged for it. He was a photographer by trade, and he did these countless readings, and it initially started all about health, but then someone asked, I think, a question about something and opened the door to a past life. Well, this comes from a past life. And then that opened the floodgates to a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's an interesting story of Edgar Casey because the fact that you're talking about a Kentuckian, I mean, like early 1900s, like discovering this ability and being a Christian and not believing in any of it, but when he goes into this sleep state,
right?
It's this other voice of wisdom with all this stuff that this guy from Kentucky should not know or be into. But no Hollywood influence. And that's what I'm saying. It's so cool about Barbara and Edgar Casey and people that are pre-New Age movement, basically.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, those were some of the greats. I mean, you had earlier ones too, like Helena Blavatsky of Theosophy, Rudolf Steiner. I mean, those are some of the real forerunners of the whole movement, and they help break the ground. Now, we need good people today because, thank God, more people are interested now. I mean, when I really started working in kind of more professional, even the idea of meditating or yoga, those are like way out wild things. Now, meditation's mainstream. You've got apps on meditations.
You got VR meditation now. You can do all kinds. It's all over.
But that's progress. That means that it's working slowly into the consciousness of people. And what we're very happy with this new book, yes, of course, it's about the other side, but it's really, as you know, it's about spiritual growth. And we're finding a lot of people are really resonating. I want to know how to, shall we say, grow my soul. And that's a sign that the whole spiritual movement is maturing. It's getting deeper. It's going into more interesting. People are getting not only more serious about it, but more intelligent about it.
Or just curious about it, for one. Because, like you said, the one, when you were starting to read these books, was you said somebody was like, why are you going to die? So many people want to turn their heads away from it. And ever since the person I am, from the moment I've been born, like, could talk and think, my imagination was like, why aren't you thinking about this? Why isn't everybody thinking about this? Why aren't any of you asking these questions? Why are you so caught up in your life and not thinking about these questions? I've been thinking about it since day one.
Well, that's great. Well, you came in with it. Now, what we would say is that you brought that knowledge in from another incarnation, and that part of your journey was to build it from a very young age. So
I mean, I got distracted like everybody else. That's what life does, especially when you hit teenage years.
Well, of course,
life has a way to get you way distracted from all of it.
You want to fit in, right? You want to be hip, and you want to be where it's going. But in the end, you realize you have to be yourself, and you have to be who you are. And then that's the process we all go through. Well, even Barbara tried to shut it down. At one point she wanted to be normal, quote unquote, normal, like everybody else. And the more she said she shut it down, the more it came back. In her high school, she was saying, she said, I actually skipped 2 years of school. She said, I would know the question that the teacher would ask, and I would know the answer before they asked the question.
That's totally Edgar Casey stuff right there. It is. And there's just, I was not that way. I wish I had that ability. But there are people born like Barbara and Edgar that they have this energy, they have this ability, and I know past lives exist. I know people come in here that are on a different wavelength, that are on a higher evolutionary path than I am, that they put in the work.
We're all growing. The thing with reincarnation, if you think of Earth as a school, and then
that's what I do.
Yeah, then a lifetime is like a grade. So the idea is, no matter how good a life you live, if you do everything absolutely perfect in this life, it's not going to mean you're done. You have to come back, and there's just too much to experience. We come in as male, we come in as female, we come in as rich, we come in as poor. We come in as the different parts of the world, the different races. We have to have a rich experience. A good actor, I came to LA originally for movies and television and things like that. And, a good actor will tell you, if you want to get good at acting, you don't play the same role all the time. You play a variety of people because you learn more about human nature the more you stretch yourself.
Method actors.
The soul learns more through the variety of rich experiences. So
you can see that actors that really get into their part, they on set they have to be referred to by the character. I think they're a little over the top. The method actors,
the method teaching. I don't
know. I think they have some. They don't want to be themselves is the problem. But it is. I'm a big believer that humans mimic the unknown. We mimic the things we don't want to talk about or understand, and we do it in our fiction. We do it in our what we're doing now. Jamie's fears the metaverse, and the VR, and like what it's going to do to humanity. I do too, but at the same time, I think it's everything's a reflection of the truth. We make a VR universe, we make an avatar, we make a character we can step into and be that character and play it out. When we watch a movie, we empathetically become those characters in a sense. It's in human nature to live experience, read a story, to step out of yourself and be someone else. I think it's reflected in a lot of things we do in our lives and our entertainment, that we want to experience more than just this one little life, and
Right.
we have
Right.
and will.
And
Right.
Jason, that's why I say I like it for my games. It's my
know.
escape from reality, but I don't want to live that reality.
I know that's the scary part is when people want to just totally step away from the reality forever.
Well, they lose their orientation. You can get lost in that. And that's happened in the acting world where they suddenly believe they're the part they're playing, right?
Yeah.
They live it off camera as well as on, and then it's a mess for everybody when that happens. Yeah. No, I mean, there's a reason you come in the way you are, and you're granted certain tools, certain talents, certain challenges, and then you're supposed to build from there. That's in a sense we say, oh, those are the cards I'm dealt. Why is somebody born into privilege? Why is somebody born into not privilege? It's all part of the life experience. It could be what we call karma, things swinging back. But karma is not people think they're scared.
It's a difficult thing for people, I've noticed.
Yeah.
To
Very
handle.
much. Yeah. Yeah. No. But karma is a balancer of life. Look, if I spilled the milk, I got to clean it up. It's just that simple. I'm not being punished for it because I have to clean it up. I'm not saying I'm a bad person, but if I've hurt somebody in a past life and I didn't have time to work it out in that life, I have to come back and resolve it. I have to set the record straight. And in that process of resolving it, I'm learning. I'm growing. There was a great experience because we do a lot of work with karma in our class. There was a woman that she was complaining, that her mother doesn't respect her. Her mother, doesn't treat her well, and it's kind of spilled to the other family members. And she felt like I've done absolutely nothing wrong. She was very upset, of course, by all of this. And we did at that time, we were doing some past life things, and it came out that in a past life, in another situation, she had been abusive to her mother. It was a reverse situation.
Yep.
And so what happened in this life on an unconscious level, the mother isn't remembering that anger from centuries ago is resurfacing again. So we asked her, well, now that you have this knowledge, what are you going to, what's the lesson here? What are you going to do? And she actually eventually realized, oh my goodness, I guess I have to look at her totally different. I have to look at her with kindness, even though she may not be showing kindness to me right now. And once she realized that, it didn't suddenly make the relationship disappear, but her attitude dramatically changed. And she felt much more empowered, much more in control of the situation. And it helped her heal a lot. But interestingly enough, the change was not coming from the mother, the change was coming from her. So we do often feel victimized. We do often feel like we got
peace is every step. That's a lesson there. If you want the peace, you have to give it. That's a Thich Nhat Hanh thing I've always lived by.
Want a friend, be a friend, right?
Yep.
You take the responsibility. Barbara always would say, do you want to be the master or the victim of your life?
Yes.
And the minute we play the role of victim, we've already lost.
And that's what I'm telling you. In society, there's some fundamental things going on lately that we play too much on the victim status.
It's too easy to do, especially when others are feeling victimized too. And then you commiserate with the others that are feeling victimized in the same way. Look, we are not going to be always in control of our situations. That's life. There are dynamics of life. A tsunami hits you, or a tornado, or a hurricane, whatever. There's life that happens, right? But the key is, how do you handle it? Do you fall down, or do you get up and stay strong? What do they say? If you fall off a horse, get on it right away again, or you'll never ride a horse again. And so you've got to say, look, okay, sometimes it's not going to end up the way I exactly want it. But as long as I did my part, what else can be asked of me? And there's a lot of satisfaction with that.
I've learned it's how we react to things, the things that we can't control, how we react to it can make a big difference.
Exactly. All the difference, really. Because
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
I was going to say, the big part I see about karma that people have difficulty with, and myself, I mean, is the fact that, when people are like, okay, why did this person come into this world to die young? Or why did this person come into this world to be a serial killer? Why did this person, it's like everything's predestined or punishment or reward, and that's not how it works.
No, not. And we got to remember something. No one's born to be a serial killer. That's
right.
Free will, right? But you may ask the question, why would somebody die young as part of their karma?
That's the hard one.
Well, what if you murdered someone young?
Right.
Now, the point is, the old adage, an eye for an eye, did not mean, okay, you poke my eye, I get to poke out your eye.
Right.
That's just what Gandhi said. That just makes a blind world. The eye for an eye meant, if you poke someone's eye out, somewhere down the line, you're going to experience blindness. So you understand what you did.
Yeah.
That you will never want to ever do that again. If the soul never, if I put my hand on a hot stove and there's no pain, I could leave my hand on a hot stove till I lose my hand. But the pain tells me, get your hand up. So life has to give back. If we do something that disturbs the balance of life has to kick back to say, no, that's not the natural rhythm of life. And then the soul learns that, and it says, never again. Sometimes it's painful, but our soul can take it. Our soul is immortal. It's beyond anything that this life can throw at it. So we're actually much stronger than we realize. If we, the more we recognize that, again, the stronger we even become.
I think for some people too, the other one, like the lady you were talking about at the beginning of this, that about her and her mom arguing. Some people will be like, "Why would I have chosen those parents?" Some people, I'm lucky. I definitely know I had good parents. I had a bastard father that didn't want anything to do with me, but I have a great stepdad and mother. I'm very lucky. But I know plenty of people be like bull BS. But I am a firm believer that we choose who our parents are going to be. I had an experience, and I've talked about it on the show, but I wanted to get your take on this. Right before I was going to move out of my parents' house, I saw a translucent boy in the middle of the day in my parents' living room. That's not a haunted house. It wasn't a ghost. I felt a feeling of complete, immense love. The only time I ever felt that was when I felt God save me from a dark entity. That's a whole other story. I felt that. It was intense, and he just smiled at me, and I smiled back, and I was just lost in this feeling, and it was over. Many, many, many years down the road, I have my second child, Liam, and when he comes out and they put him right next to my wife's head after the C-section, he smiles, and I knew right there, that's the boy I saw. And he told my wife at one point when he's like 2 or 3, I chose you and Daddy.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's
so sweet. The mouth of babes. And after that, I became a firm believer that our children choose us. And I've said this. I've said this on the show both times. My children were conceived. I knew it right away. And I know that's kind of like, I don't want to get detail of that, but I knew at the moment.
No. Well, there's a mutual agreement. There's actually talk about out-of-body experiences. When a couple is getting ready to conceive a child, they are taken to the other side during their sleep time. And they do meet the incoming soul. And there is an agreement to say, yeah, this is what it's going to be. And then shortly after that, conception takes place. So that is a definite. Barbara joked one time, both my kids came to me and said, we want you to be our mom, long before she was pregnant.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, it's something that's been proven to me. I definitely believe it.
You must have a very special relationship with both your children then in that way. Yeah.
But see, this is the thing. Me and you, we know this. We've had these experiences. I don't know what the afterlife totally is. I believe in it. I have not seen the stuff you have seen or experienced. I would love to get back into meditation and get more into this. But I believe in this reality. so many people, how their lives would be changed, I think, if they understood these concepts. The world, how it could be changed if we understood these concepts.
Well, the thing is, we live right now, there have been different ages of humanity. We could go into the whole idea of prehistory, that civilization's far older than we think it is.
Yeah.
But there have been ages where humanity was more tuned with its mystical nature, and those gave rise to the great mystery schools, whether in Egypt or Greece or India, wherever. And then there's other ages where it's a little more clouded. We live really in a more of a materialistic age right now. So it's producing this technological wonders at this time, but it's kind of clouding the real inner life. And now that inner life is trying to break through, so that the veil between the physical and the spiritual isn't so strong. One of the most beautiful things about the other side is the interaction with, let's say, the divine support is a normal thing. Seeing an angel in the inner worlds, even if you don't really fully understand what's going on, is just a normal occurrence. It's not like, oh my God, what happened to me? Here, you would be, it's like a major deal. But imagine if that interactivity, the veil between the physical and the spiritual, was not so strong, we would just naturally start to live a more balanced life, because we would understand that the physical isn't the whole of life. It's part of life. That's the whole idea of the Indian concept of Maya, the illusion. People misunderstand that. They think what they mean is the physical world is an illusion. No. The physical world is real. But when we look at the 5 physical senses and say that's all there is and nothing else, that concept is an illusion. Because it's like saying this piece of the puzzle is the whole puzzle, and the puzzle is really more like this. And that's the world we got to get out of. We got to get out of that limited thinking and open up the vistas, and humanity and the way we work with each other. A lot of things are going to change, because we will have this bigger view of things. And we call it the spiritual renaissance, but it's starting to happen now. It's going to take time, but again, a show like this, again, during Barbara's form, this would have been unimaginable,
right?
Even if the technology was available back then. So it shows you, it wasn't that long ago to talk about auras and these things. You had to be in some type of a mystery school or ashram. That's where you were taught them, not in the public sense, So, but the fact that it's opened up means that people are more ready than ever. There's so many people having their spiritual awakening. And if I would leave one message out of everything in tonight's talk is, I'm sure many of your listeners have had some type of a spiritual awakening already to be watching your show. It's not an accident, that's the inner life knocking on your door. Answer it, make your spiritual life a higher priority, and all of your life will come into this beautiful balance. Start with that. Start with the spiritual core.
One of the things I found that it's helped me more recently lately is we're talking about perception of things, and discovering these concepts or realizing these concepts is my idea of, we talked about this other show, is that you've been the executioner and the executed. Right. When it comes to the idea of past lives, nobody's better than anybody. We're all in a different part of where I'm on a different step of the journey than you. And we're all going to get to the end, the same end. It's getting us to stop get off our high horses. You're no better than anybody. That concept, stop judgment on others. That's something I've been like a mantra to myself lately. Like you can think, because when it was in my early 20s, I was getting into all the spiritual stuff. I was like, oh, why isn't everybody into this? Why isn't everybody asking these big questions? Like I had a dark experience at 17, 18 with a dark entity that did open my eyes to God, and brought me back to all this stuff from my childhood, and got me wanting to really deep dive into spiritual. And I was meditating. I'm like, why doesn't everybody? And then I got more of an adult, and I realized why everybody is, because you got to survive, you got to work, then you have kids, you got to all these things that just total big. It's life that takes you away. Life does not make it easy. It does not make it easy to turn and look at these things. But there's a lot of factors. I mean, you talk about religious dogmas that interfere with these kind of talks through the ages, life's factors of survival that get in the way. There's so many things that distract us from the big questions.
Yeah. Well,
but what brings us back to it, I see a reoccurrence of this idea, is when people are faced with mortality, they start to ask these questions. I look at the Spanish flu, the early 1900s, and how the spiritualist movement kind of came after, because a lot of people died, and it brought the world's attention to it. And now we've had COVID, and not as many people died, thank God, but people have died, and people have had to think about their mortality more. And I definitely have starting to see the reoccurrence of more interest in the paranormal and spirituality again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look at how many are just reconsidering their careers. They were on a career path, and now they're not jumping back to the old job again. They're saying, that job wasn't really that fulfilling to begin with. It wasn't even paying that well. Why was I stuck in that, rut? And they're now thinking, well, what's really important? So it's causing them to reassess, and that's a really good thing. Too bad it took a global pandemic to do it.
That's usually what it does for humans, to get our attention.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's harder to get our attention even more. I mean, where we're at in the day and age of everything we have, technology wise, material wise, we got a lot to be distracted by, and we bring a lot of our own suffering down upon ourselves.
We really do. We really do.
That's the sad part about it.
Well, I've contemplated this myself. Why sometimes in the ancient times were people just naturally more metaphysically inclined? And I think part of the reason was life was simpler back then.
Right.
We have so many distractions. We've got electricity now. It means the light can be on 24/7. In ancient days, sunset, things kind of cooled down a little bit, and then it started up the next day. And
what did you do? Have to sit in front of a fire? You didn't have much else to do to think about.
Yeah, you probably slept more too, right? You probably slept better in those days. So there was just a natural attunement. I forget what Indian proverb says it, but it's something about don't lose connection with the earth. If you lose the connection with the earth, you've lost it. You see, I mean, I love science fiction movies too, but when you think about it, you have these societies where, there's one plant and then everything else is all artificially created. Is that really the world that's going to exist in the future, where we're so self-created world? We're not in tune with nature anymore. We're not in tune with the basic elements of life. That can't be a healthy experience. So I think I love Steve Jobs' line, in his work where he said, I have to say no 1,000 times to the one thing I have to say yes to. So I think we have to be stronger today to tune out of the junk and say, no, I don't need any of this. This is what I need to do, and stay focused on the things that are important. And then the other stuff that's helpful, yes, but not this constant bombardment of things that we're getting.
And I see the other issue, and especially in America, is we want the quick fix. A lot of this kind of the stuff you've done. I'll admit, I have not been meditating at all, hardly. It's hard for me to get back to with 2 children. I can make all the excuses in the world, I know, but you have to put the work in. I know I haven't put the work in. People want it like instantly. Give me that 24-hour spiritual evolution. Can I take a pill for that? That's America. That's the American way, man.
I know.
We want the quick fix, and this isn't. This is a long journey.
No. Do you learn another language in a weekend? Do you learn to play a musical instrument in a weekend? This takes time. Yeah. If anyone promises you instant enlightenment, run the other way. I remember there was a quote famous guru years ago said he had all my people are going to be enlightened in 5 years, and we're going to all do this together in this big stadium. And that was like 30 years ago, and nothing like that remotely happened. Anything worthwhile is going to take some time. And I think you hit on a very important thing, Jason, because, if you really want to evolve your soul, and if you really want to develop yourself spiritually, you got to take the long view of life. You've got to be willing. I mean, look at what we do when we plan for things like we're going to retire. We start saving 30 years ahead of time. We don't start saving 2 weeks before we want to retire. So you have to build this over time. Now, I will say you brought up a couple times meditation. Meditation is one of the absolute fundamental tools.
I know.
In spiritual, because it's your one-on-one time with the inner light. You are literally kind of shutting the door to everything else. you are opening up to the inner flow of things, and that gets you connected. Now, the Dalai Lama, I was like 30 years ago, right? He asked the scientific community to study some of the monks that were doing these long meditate. They called them Olympic meditators because they had accumulated like 60,000 hours of meditation, and they did these studies. And I don't remember the exact, but he described it like, let's say if you bite into a delicious apple, you get this beautiful, this pleasant sensation in your brain.
Yeah.
Well, these monks are operating at that level all the time. And then when they go into meditation, it goes off the charts. So they figured out that if you meditate every day for half an hour for 3 months, sincerely, like meditate on compassion or love or something like that, there's a discernible physiological change in your brain for the better. So it's the consistency. We say, look, it's great if you want to do a big meditation on the weekend or something, but it's better even like 15 minutes every day because it's a cumulative thing. And if you do make it the centerpiece of your day, everything else just seems to flow. Now, I understand when you have kids, when you've got responsibilities. We had there was one student, and she was a single mom, a doctor, raising 3 kids. And she initially said, well, where the heck am I going to meditate?
Right.
And well, she was pretty clever. She left the house a little bit earlier, and she meditated in her car before.
That's what I do.
There you go.
No, I'm not joking. I mean, it's on my break at work, and I haven't got to do it since it got cold. It's just too cold to sit in my car, and I haven't been taking breaks. But during the summer and when it wasn't so cold, I'd take my break and I'd go out to my car for 20 minutes, just enjoy the complete silence, because I have all the noise at work, and then I go home and have all the noise of a 10-year-old and 6-year-old. So that 20 minutes is my de-stressor, complete silence and letting go.
I like to say even 5 or 10 minutes in the shower sometimes can do a lot.
Oh yeah, that's kind of my morning routine too.
When you have the water rushing over your face,
like
and
a waterfall. Yeah, it's again, we're living in a world where it's not encouraging it, but if we realize how important it is, we do. Now there was a student, actually, Barbara used to work with her. She was a sheriff, and Barbara taught her to meditate, and then she called Barbara and said, "Oh, your meditations, they don't work." What do you mean they don't work? So she went to the house and said, "Show me how you meditate." So she started to meditate. 2 minutes into it, she got up to put something on the stove. Then she picked up the mail. Then she came back and sat down for a few more. That's not meditating.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah. So there's some of our we have a lot of young like students now that are building their careers and families, and they have found better ways to say even to their kids, look, right now mommy's meditating or daddy, and they're really to respect that more. And I know how much
not my children, not my children.
Hey, I can't get the Wi-Fi going, I get, but they will slowly get it, and it's actually a blessing for them too, because if daddy's stronger, if mommy's stronger, more centered, they're going to be better at everything else. But the point is, if you want to develop yourself spiritually, meditation is fundamental. Now, the meditations we do, there are a lot of different kinds of meditations, but we meditate with divine light. So, for example, let's say, you want to build confidence. Well, in the auric field, confidence comes through as this beautiful gold light.
Yeah.
But let's say I feel I don't have confidence. I have low self-esteem. Maybe I'm supposed to ask for a raise at my job. I deserve it, but I can't even get the guts to go in there and make the request, So yes, of course you can just push yourself and just do it. But if you meditate with a gold light, call that energy into your auric field, and then go to do it, then you can start to see some changes. We had a doctor in one of the classes, and he was very frank. He said, I don't show enough kindness to my patients. It's kind of like in and out, and I'm seeing so many in the day. He realized it was like he didn't have very good bedside manners. So we said, well,
he's not the only doctor.
Yeah,
there's a lot of them.
Yeah. So, well, you need to work with a love ray. You need to show compassion, and he did that. And he said it took a little while. It said, but not only did the patients like it, but he said my practice improved because he set the energy differently. So you got to take the bull by the horn with this stuff. And if there's something that you know is not right, you've just got to take the initiative to make it happen.
And energy, you know, I like the ideas of the meditations with the light. I've done like kind of chakra meditations too, and like envision energy coming into it and gotten into that, and it's helped me with anxiety, because I have anxiety issues, and it's helped me big time. Golden light is something I've done. I learned from a Taoist book I read once, and I still use this practice. It's called scoop the loop. Basically, you're bringing in this golden energy down, and you're like looping it through your spine, through your front, like out your bottom chakra, and it's helped me. It's helped me over the years, and I've recommended it to other people. And there's a lot of different vision practices I think people can use. The idea of the different lights and what they can do, I think, is really interesting, and we can get into more of that. We're going to be going to commercial break here in a couple minutes and opening up the phone lines for questions for you tonight, and I would like people to call in with their own experiences too. Seeing auras, or what was it awakened you? And for me, my awakening was a really dark experience, kind of. It was. For you, what really did awaken you to this? Like, woke you up and said, I don't want to do this life anymore. I'm going to be a mystic.
Well, I'm sorry. Are you asking me that question?
Yeah, I am. I'm
sorry. I thought you were talking.
What was your awakening before we go to commercial break? What was your awakening moment?
Oh, well, it was a process. Well, how quick are we going to commercial break?
We're going to go. Leave us hanging.
Okay,
we'll talk about your awakening moment. Because I always find that interesting, what it is that wakes people to the paranormal. Sometimes it's a loved one who passed that reaches out to them, or sometimes it's a near-death experience.
Yeah, no, mine was a little different than that, but
we'll get into that. Okay, your awakening moment when we come back from this commercial break. Yes, we're going to go to commercial break, and then we're going to open up the phone lines and talk to Dimitri about his awakening moment. What was yours tonight? Call in. Tell me what awakened you to the spiritual realm, that wanted you to ask the big questions, to look more deeply, or was it a reincarnation? Did you have a past life memory? I've seen so many experiences of people called in. I'm always interested in what brought people to open themselves up to these ideas. Some people like me, I think it was entwined from the beginning. But eventually life gets you and you step away, and there's always that one thing that brings you back, an experience. Call in tonight, share it tonight. We got a lot to talk about when we come back from the short commercial break.
Into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.paranormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope.
That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, The Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do voices from beyond the cold case files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranormal Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranormal Magazine and soon, ParanormalMag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Edgar Allan Poe wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
The answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is 42. Yes, I thought it over quite thoroughly. It is, it's 42. It would have been simpler, of course, to have known what the actual question was.
But it was the question. The ultimate question. Of everything.
That's not a question. Only when you know the question will you know what the answer means.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is Dimitri Moraitis. He is the co-author with Barbara Martin of Heaven and Your Spiritual Evolution, a mystic's guide to the afterlife and reaching your highest potential. And I had left off, we were a little bit hanging there. It was what awoken Dimitri, or you in the audience, to the paranormal, to the spiritual, to ask these big questions. Ask the right question, you get the answer 42, right? To ask these big questions, to look at the deeper meanings of life, not just the afterlife or where we go when we die, but just what's the meaning of it all. how's it all, because it's all interplaying in your everyday life, and a lot of people don't realize it until they awaken to this. I think most of you here, if you're listening or watching this show now, you're here because you've had an awakening moment. We are going to open up the phone lines. I'd love to know what that is. Also, you can call in and ask questions of our guest Dimitri tonight. I would like to learn more about meditations we can use, early development, suggestions that could help you. We talk about finding a little time to meditate. Well, what kind of meditations do you want to use? That's a good question tonight. We got a lot to get to, but let's go ahead and get back to our guest. Thank you for staying with us, Dimitri. So, what was your awakening moment? Like I said, I have people tell me their stories, paranormal experiences all the time, but people have certain experiences that awaken them and get them to go down this path.
Oh, absolutely. In my case, it was more sudden rather than gradual. Well, a little bit gradual. I come from sort of more of an artistic background. I played piano since I can remember, and so was very musical, got into movies, and I decided, okay, I'm going to Los Angeles to kind of strike my fame and fortune there. And this was in my early 20s. And I was having these, things were actually going pretty well. And I was having, though, I wasn't metaphysical at the time. I was born Greek Orthodox. We did Easter, things like that. But I wouldn't call myself religious. I was having what I call these sort of inspiration moments. They would be moments of just a very heightened awareness of things and insight into people and understanding about them. It would never felt weird or like I was, a space cadet or something like that.
Right.
They were completely uncontrolled, though. They came like almost like the wind, and they left almost like the wind. And they got so intense after a while that it literally led to this kind of, awakening. I call it my Saul in the road to Damascus moment. But even then, I didn't have a name for it yet. I just knew things had fundamentally changed. And then some said, "Oh, you had a religious awakening." No, I don't think it was that. Didn't feel like that.
Yeah.
And then when I heard metaphysics, I said, "That's the bingo button. That's what this is." And then I couldn't get enough of it. I was reading everything. I was studying what I could. Being in LA, there's a lot of spiritual organizations there. But something said, be careful about, joining a group or getting started with something. And then I happened to, an ex-girlfriend called one day and said, she knew I was interested in all of this.
Yeah.
Said, we're having a dinner thing, and there's this woman that's going to lead a meditation. So I went, and it was Barbara. And it was the first time I meditated, and it was literally like this ancient door opening up. I felt completely at home. And then afterwards, I had all this stuff on my mind, and I kind of poured it out to her, and I was asking these questions, and I thought it was a beautiful discussion. She says I was interrogating her that night. But the point was I was trying to put all this together, and she had such clarity and insight. And then she started talking about things like the other side. And I was realizing, oh my God, she's talking from her own experiences. This is the one I got to study with. And then we started, I became her student, but right away I got involved in the business side of things. We both realized we started to write. We love to write. And then I got involved with the spiritual writing. And yes, it took time, but eventually she had amassed all these, encyclopedia of notes. And I said, no, we got to organize this. We got to put them into lessons.
Right.
We got to start writing books. She was trying to write this Aura book. And that started eventually, it became Spiritual Arts Institute. It's just decades. But yeah, it took me, of course, it started with that. Now, later on, it grew into other things. But it was this, for me, it wasn't so much a clairvoyant experience, but it was, shall we say, a very high altered state of consciousness that made me realize there are these very, shall we call them, more illumined states of awareness. And these are wonderful things. And it's something that, since it happened spontaneously, you could actually slowly start to train yourself to do, so that now it's a little bit more methodical. And it's been kind of the centerpiece of what I do even now. And it's only gotten better through the years, but I really have been, Barbara's a marvelous teacher. And there's a lot to learn about all this. Once you realize the depth of it all and how much there's involved, you kind of understand why in the ancient days you basically lived in the mystery schools, because you're basically studying almost like every day,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. People were getting interested in this is like, well, I got this to do, and I got all this responsibilities, and it like.
I was a
guess,
little lucky. I was a little lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky or not, I didn't yet have a family, so I don't know how I would have reacted if I had that awakening 10 years later, and suddenly I've got responsibilities of raising family and this. So this happened when I was like 25. I hadn't yet gotten into that, but even if it had happened later, it is kind of like falling in love. It wasn't a choice anymore.
Right.
It was something I had to do. As a matter of fact, I realized after I had the awakening that, oh my God, because I was very passionate about movies at the time. And then I realized, oh no, it wasn't movies. It's this. I just didn't have a name for it yet. So this is why they say, follow your bliss. If I hadn't traveled to LA to pursue movie, I may not have had it in the same way, and I wouldn't have met Barbara. You've got to follow where your heart is, but don't be surprised if there's a turn that you make along the way, and things aren't what you initially thought they were going to be.
Be open.
Be open, exactly. Be flexible. Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried to learn that lesson because I've thought I was going to be a lot of things. Film school is one of the things I did too.
Okay.
Yeah, I got into film.
I hear you got those great trailers from the old days of like Close Encounters. Yeah. It's funny to hear that stuff now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to be a film director in college. That's what I went for. Yeah, I wanted to get into Columbia in Chicago.
Oh, in Columbia, great.
Yeah, I wanted to be in film, and then I decided I don't want to live in LA. That is not where my bliss is. I don't want to be in Hollywood. That was not me.
I lived in Chicago myself. I grew up there.
Yeah, I'm not far from it. I'm in Michigan City, Indiana, but
there you go.
Spent a lot of time in Chicago, and I'm a Midwest guy. I am not I am not a West Coast or East Coast. I'm all Midwest, and I'm happy here in Indiana. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you're stuck in Indiana." No, I'm a Midwest guy. I enjoy the Midwest. There's things I know I would have hated. I had a friend that went out to L.A. and became he got in the film industry for music. Doing music, and he tried to convince me to come out there, and I was like, something just told me that's not where it's at for you.
Well, so you're following where your heart is.
Exactly. It's different. All roads are different for people, and there's different roads people can choose and paths that they do. And I think for you obviously had this purpose. I think though the people have to realize that yes, you had Barbara, you had a great mentor, teacher, but it doesn't mean you can't learn a little bit of something of this. You can't touch a little upon of what you've got.
And
right.
If I hadn't had the awakening, I never would have recognized her as my teacher. No, it's all initiated from you. What's
exactly
when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah, I love that saying. Yes,
but you're in the driver's seat. You have to do your own growing. Nobody can do that for you.
What I say is, like I was saying at when we came back from the commercial break, is I believe pretty much everybody in this audience has had to have some kind of awakening moment. They're here listening to this kind of show.
Yeah.
They're asking the right questions. They're starting to get to it. Some of them maybe were way beyond me. I've had them call in. They're astral traveling. They're doing all kinds of metaphysical stuff I'm not doing. I mean, so they're here listening. I'm already proud of you. Not just because it's my show. Go listen to any other Paranormal Roundtable, Josh Turner. Any other Art Bell archives, go listen to Art Bell. Heather Wade coming back, she's on air. Anybody listening to these shows, or asking these questions, or reading books like yours, I'm already proud of you. I'm already proud of you because so many people are going through life, and I'm not better than them. They're all on their different spiritual time and path, and I try to remind myself of that. But so many people don't want to think about any of these questions or delve into any of this. They're so sucked into the material life, work, and distraction. I feel bad for them. There's so much more.
You're giving the space for people to give their voice, so that's very important. Yeah.
Speaking about space and voices, we got one of our regular callers from 6 years now, and always has great questions. We got Zach on the line. How you doing tonight, Zach?
I'm doing pretty good, brother, and thankfully I'm calling the phone line tonight, so it cannot cut me off.
Yeah,
so I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you test this out. I have a new phone. I'm having to call in. I had to sign in. I saw somebody else trying to call in, too, and I don't know if it was you or somebody else. Hopefully I don't have an issue tonight with phone lines. I'm glad I see you're on the line, that it's working. So thank you for calling in, Zach.
I know. Definitely, man. And you know what? I definitely get it as well. I'm not an LA West Coast guy. I live out in Arizona. Been out here for over 20 years, and I love it the way it is. But trust me, if you ever come out here, man, there's a lot of Indiana people that are out here. You'll fit in just fine.
I want to go there for my arthritis issues. That's what I want to live in, is Arizona. No cold, moist mornings that kill me. But all right, Zach, what are you calling in? What's your question tonight?
Okay, I got one question, and I'll share just one experience that I had, because I feel like there's multiple experiences I had.
But it's
so I
the
had to
one
go
that
through and try to
awakens
pick up.
you. Is the one I'm interested for callers tonight. If you want to call in and tell us, is the one that really awakened you to that there's more than this, material world.
Oh yeah, no, I'll definitely get to that one for sure. I'll get to my question first. Hey, Dimitri, it's very nice to meet you, sir.
Likewise.
So my question really goes back to the whole concept of auras. It's always intrigued me. My question to you is, can anybody really develop this ability to be able to see somebody else's aura? And if so, what would you recommend for someone to do to really develop and really harness this ability?
Right. That's a great question, and I know probably one of Barbara's most asked questions.
Oh yeah.
First of all, if you have any of the natural ability, let's say it's already sort of happening, then yeah, it's a sign that you should spend more attention with it. It's not, those things are not accidentally happening. Now, we have done workshops, and it's funny. Jason mentioned that, you can get let's say you get like a backdrop, which is kind of dark.
Yeah.
And, you have somebody sitting in a chair. It's not dark, but it's not bright in the room either. And you do sort of start in the periphery. And yes, it's good to meditate and do some preparation. And sometimes in that setting, we've done that several times. I was surprised one time we did it with a room of about 30 people, and I would say 10 or 15 saw something, that, and many of them had never seen before. So sometimes it can happen, in sort of a conducive environment. But generally what we say is clairvoyance is sort of a natural byproduct of your spiritual development. So as you start learning to meditate, as you start learning to awaken the inner life, then these things do sometimes start happening. Barbara had a student of many years, and she complained, "No, I don't see the aura, I don't see the angels, I don't see nothing," but she was a really good student. And one time she was just meditating just normally, and she saw visions. She saw an angelic being coming right into the room, and it kissed her on the cheek. So these things do happen, but the more important thing is to, shall we say, develop your aura. Learn to improve it. Even if you don't see it, you can improve it right now.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. I don't really have the ability to see auras, but I told this to Jason before, is that just whenever I get a feeling about somebody, I make a joke, and then come to find out later on that there's some grain of truth related to that joke. But
well, that's a good
anyway, so I wanted to
sense of things. In other words,
and you know what? I actually used that about 2 weeks ago. I used that about 2 weeks ago. Yeah. But my I guess one of my awakening stories, really, I wouldn't really call it a near-death experience, but it would have ended up very, very bad for me had it gone the other way. But this was about 10 years ago. I was on a break from college, and I was going out to Austin to go see my dad. And I remember being on the I-10, and it just started raining heavily. It was right outside of Ozona, Texas. And the rain was coming out heavily. I could barely see it all in front of me. And I remember I needed to stop and get gas. Well, I pull off the highway, and I'm going down this ramp here. My car starts hydroplaning really bad. I can't brake. I'm going down this ramp, and I'm getting scared out of my mind right now. Suddenly, I just hear this voice. It tells me, turn the wheel. So immediately I turn the wheel, and all of a sudden my car, when I'm going down the ramp, my car starts spinning. There's no other cars that are coming right on the road next to me. My car just starts spinning round and round and round until finally it just lands plop right in front of the gas station that I was going to be stopping in.
Oh my God.
And had I not turned that wheel, I would have gone into a ditch.
Yeah.
It would have been really, really bad for me. And it really made me stop and think that maybe there is something bigger out there that's really watching over me, and there's so much more. And at the time, now that I'm thinking back about it, it's just, I was stressed out, but at the same time, I was just keeping my mind open to really anything that was going on.
Wow.
And I'm really glad that that voice really came in to really save me on this, because I don't know where I would be if it turned out the other way.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's dramatic. And also how interesting that you didn't just say, I just was my own voice talking, that you sensed, no, this came from somewhere else. So that's really important to realize, yes, we do have those from the other side helping us. And that day, yeah, they came in to really help you. And it's something as usually as simple as that, turn the wheel or step back or do that. Something, it's not a whole soliloquy, So, but how interesting. Did you pursue a spiritual interest after that experience?
I mean, I had other paranormal experiences throughout my life, and I've talked about it several times on the show here, but really that was one that really awakened my eyes to the whole concept of guardian angels and, the other side intervening in to help out whenever someone needs you the most.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Well, thank you, Zach, for calling in and sharing too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dimitri, for answering my question, man. I do greatly appreciate it, and I love hearing everything that you're saying.
Oh, thank you. Good luck on your journey. Yeah.
All right, Zach. Have a great night.
You too, man. Bye-bye.
And somebody else was trying to call in. Just remember, if I hang up on you, or you go to voicemails, because I got somebody else on the line, but the lines are open. You can keep calling in. Yeah, I've had that experience. I was, again, a young kid, and I fell out of a moving car, and then I heard a voice say, "Stay down," and this car went right over me. If I would have got up after rolling out of the car that was moving, it's a long story, I would be dead. I would be bad shape. So these are the things. These people. I love these stories. I mean, being open and honest now is the greatest thing about. Everybody at my work knows I'm into the paranormal, knows I do this show. I shamelessly plug it. But I love the fact that people know I'm into it. I'm open about it. I don't care what anybody thinks anymore about it. If somebody asks me, I'm going to tell them what I'm into, what I believe. And I love it because people come to me with these stories.
Yeah, and they're reinforcing. They're encouraging for other people to say, okay, yeah, there really is help. We're not struggling through this on our own.
Yeah. And other stories, like of loved ones have come across to people. That's been some people's awakening moments when they sadly lose somebody really close to them, but that person comes to them from the other side and shows them this isn't it, kid. There's more. I love those stories. There's so many ways people get opened up to these ideas and concepts, and I love Zach's question about trying to see, can anybody just see an aura? I know when I was young and really get into this, I was getting books on how do you see auras and that, and I would make like poster board to like focus, like put somebody behind and practice. I did, and I could get a little bit better at it, and eventually life got at me and I got away from it, and I want to get back to it. What are you talked a bit about the right lighting and the setting for it. I mean, I definitely know it helps to relax. But is there other methods people can use or things they can kind of exercise their eyes for it?
Well, again, we got to remember you're not actually seeing the aura with your physical eyes.
Right. It's your
there's
third eye.
Their inner spiritual mechanism. So we all have it, and eventually, the saying is we're all mystics in the making. So now we may not be of the talent of a Barbara. That's like saying you're a Mozart, or a Beethoven. But anybody can play music if they learn to develop the skill a little bit. So So it does take time to open that inner faculty if it's not already open. Now, praying or meditating with the white light is also very helpful, and just asking, is it my time? If it's my time, ask to open it up, because you don't want to open it up prematurely, and you don't want to, some people want to have the experience so bad
Yeah.
that they make it up. Now, they don't make it up like trying to con somebody, but they actually believe it themselves. We had a gentleman that did have some psychic experiences, but it really kind of went to his head. And one time he came into class and he said, "Oh, I saw the Archangel Gabriel. He had a big G on his chest and he wore a cape." And he started describing Superman. And this was a very intelligent person that was head of a whole division at the office that he worked. And he was firmly convinced that this archangel looked like Superman in a cape. So we have to be careful that we don't try to force these experiences, because it can conjure up what they call these counterfeit scenarios, But meditation is one of the biggest keys. The more you're opening up to your inner life, the more you're opening up to the inner you, the more you do start to awaken the mystical talents. And meditating with the light is also enormously helpful.
One of the things I found that helped me with, like you said, you don't see it with your eyes, is when I would meditate, I don't want to describe it. It's like I can feel like a focus inside my mind. I can see, like there's a flashlight inside my head, okay? And that it's right now it's like here, it's down here, it's pointing here, but I can get to a point where it's like my consciousness or this focus goes up. And when it's up and I'm relaxed, I can see the colors around people. It's like I'm half seeing through my eyes and half seeing through my mind, and they mix together. I don't know. It's almost undescribable. I've tried for years to figure out how to describe it to people, to help other people understand.
With your physical eyes, obviously. So if you're looking at somebody and then there's a auric energy around them, you're seeing the person with your physical normal eyes. You're seeing the aura with your, shall we say, your inner eye, and in your mind, it's literally putting the two images together.
Yeah, I guess that's the best way to describe it. I mean, and it's happened, doing it, but I've had it happen spontaneously. I've had some weird stuff I've seen around people spontaneously happen. I'm not trying to meditate. I'm at work. I work a retail job, and years ago I was working at a different retail job, and I remember once seeing a guy. And I even turned to one of my coworkers who was very much into the mystical and all that, and had abilities. And I go, "Do you see what I'm seeing?" He said, "No, I don't see anything unusual." I was like, "Okay, I'm seeing it. I saw this gentleman, and he was acting normal like any customer in the store, but his skin to me looked very palish, not right, and he had a purplish glow coming out of even his eyes. And it was just this intense, but it was negative, like a dark." Like not the pretty purple you see in this book here, It wasn't pretty.
Gloomy, yeah.
Gloomy. And, my coworker's like, I don't see anything unusual, but I'm like literally seeing, I'm not meditating. It's there in my physical eyes. And I watched him buy their stuff. He had two girls with him, I think were his daughters, and he left. I don't know what that was about, why I saw it, but I know to this day, that's what I saw. I have no idea what that was about. But I have these spontaneous moments where I see certain things like that. And I don't know if I'm going
concerning him, because gloom, that purple that you described usually describes a discontent. So there maybe
buying a bunch of clothes for his teenage daughters. I don't know, but it was pretty extreme discontent for me to see it like that. I thought I was losing my mind. I was in my early 20s, so I was into this realm where I was meditating a lot at that time. I was definitely doing probably scoop the loop, as I call it, this Taoist thing I kind of do when I would be at work to give myself energy and focus and get rid of my anxiety, to be able to talk to people. Especially when I was early 20s, I used it a lot. So that could have put me in that state to see something like that, I've always thought. But I wasn't trying. It was totally spontaneous, and I clearly saw it with my eyes. It's hard for me to decipher maybe that I am in that state where it's mixing that with my actual vision, but I was seeing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, the inner eye is as real as it's in a way more real.
Yeah.
If you're seeing, let's say, somebody from the other, we had a lady, I love the way she described it. We were talking about the astral body, and we all have one. And literally she came back the next week with still this sort of look on her face saying, "Oh my God, I saw my astral body, and it was as solid as I'm looking at you right now." we tend to think of it as this wispy thing, but
Yeah.
that's only the perception. The body is extremely real, and it's as quote unquote solid as the physical is. It's just operating on a different vibratory level. The astral world is a different vibratory, it's got astral atoms which are operating at a different rate than the physical. So just like physical has its own laws, the astral has its own laws. And that's a very important realm, because that's the place we go to right after here. We go into the astral world.
You get into the book about the different kind of levels to the astral realm. I want to get into a little bit of that tonight. We do have somebody else waiting on the line. I like to get to their phone call, but I really want to get into that tonight, because I've always, curious. Like I know people we've had on the show that are that astrally project. You actually kind of warn against it. We can get into that tonight too, astral projection. But the whole idea of the astral realm, the different levels, the growth of what really interests me is the birth of a soul, basically. Like you kind of run down where the soul starts and becomes conscious and communicate. I found all that super interesting. I want to get into, but we got Dan waiting on the line. How you doing tonight, Dan?
Hello, Jason. How are you?
Doing good. Thanks for calling in.
Hello, Dimitri. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you tonight?
Good. Yeah, well, Jason knows a lot of my experiences that I won't go into, but I think the first one that really got my mind clicking was, I begged my mom to go to my friend's house who was 3 houses down, and she's like, no, there's, thunderstorm warning, and I begged her till she let me go. I went down there and, I heard tornado sirens, and, she had called the neighbor's phone. It was ringing, to get home now, and so I got on my bike and I'm, riding 3 houses down back to my house. And, like right behind me, there's a real thick, piece of a tree that landed as literally inches, from my back wheel. But it felt like I got a little push. I remember my mom hanging out the front door. She's like, come on. And you just felt a little push. And I felt it's like a piece of the tree banged into my back tire and propelled me even further, forward, And, there was an even earlier moment in my life, that I decided to walk in the deep end, and, I spent some time underwater.
Oh gosh.
But, it was when it's when things started clicking, and, a recent experience where, I was in a shooting and I had, what I would call some kind of presence intervene and touch me. And after that happened, it brought back other things, like I had forgotten.
I definitely think that was Captain. I know you had a lot of Captain. That's our gaming tag names. Dan, the people can go find the call when you called in to talk about this active shooter incident where a guardian angel stepped in and saved you, which is incredible. You can find the call from a show previous. It's down in the timeline of YouTube. People check it out. But to me, that your life seems to have changed quite a bit after being saved like that, like spiritually.
Everything flipped. It's and I couldn't remember his face for a while, and things were blurry, but I could remember everything else, and then other memories, and then, I met you online, and all the other people we meet, you gotta admit, it's kind of bizarre too.
Oh no, I'm totally a believer in that. That we meet people for certain reasons. I'm sure Dimitri is too, but it seems like I always know who to talk to about it and who not to. Like I just have a sense for people like Dan here online. I just, when to bring it up, and I'll find out, oh yeah, I had this amazing experience, and I know sometimes who to stay away from. Don't talk to them about that. I don't know. I have a sense for it.
Well, I've always had that sense to just tell if somebody's bad news or not.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, but
did you have any questions for Dimitri?
Yeah, Dimitri, I was just wondering your thoughts on using mind-altering drugs like marijuana or
Go
I
for
know
the whole
there's a group that
Carlos
licks
Castaneda,
frogs.
Don
They
Juan
go in to
experience.
meditate. Yeah,
Take
meditate
take
or
a bunch
lick
of
frogs.
mushrooms out in the
You know.
desert. Wait, no,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a bad time. No.
Or mind-opening drugs. You know, I
Yeah,
don't know
DMT.
your thoughts on using that. You know,
Yeah,
people that
yeah.
use that in their meditation.
No, it's a good question.
No, it's a very good question, and it brings up a very big subject of how those were used also in the ancient days and in the
Yeah.
shamanistic thing. To cut to the chase, we tend to caution people about that because it does kind of open you up to the astral.
Yeah.
And the problem is, at least on this earth belt, the astral is a very mixed bag. And it can attract energies that are not so good.
It's like going to the dark web.
Yeah, a little bit like that. And if you now in when you were like working with a professional shaman, and they're doing some of this, they're so clear. The ones that are doing it are so clairvoyant, they can kind of watch to make sure you're doing it right and it isn't having an adverse effect. So yeah, if you're fortunate to be able to work with someone like that, it's a different story. But I would say just to do it on yourself, there are other ways to open up the consciousness that are safer and less of a chance.
Definitely.
And also, I mean, the whole addictive element can creep in
Yeah.
to the thing, and next thing you know, you're doing it all the time, and it just escalates, and just there's a lot of challenges there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been, working, with a few different meditations,
Great.
The chakras, and
Great.
even the CA5, But
Well, the thing is, you
there
always
was one that I was a little, a little bit, that was a little bizarre. But
the key is you want to be in control. Whatever
Yeah.
you're doing, we always say, even in meditation, if you ever feel like you're wigging out, or come back to earth. The mystical
Ground
should
yourself.
the mystical should never make you feel woo woo. You should always feel that you're in control of your life, but just in a more beautiful way. So yeah, meditations that you're doing, great. Whatever you feel comfortable with, I would just say do more of it. Get into it even more. You naturally have a sense of things, and there's support that you're getting. I would say just dive into it a little bit deeper, and you might find even more satisfaction by doing that.
yeah.
Thank you, Dan,
I'm
for
gonna
calling in.
keep doing it because, thanks a lot. Good night, guys.
Yeah, have a great night.
Right.
I mentioned Don Juan. I loved that book when I was in my early 20s. I read Don Juan, Carlos Castaneda, if you say his name right. But, that was just the first book. Like, after that, they don't do the drugs in the desert and stuff. It was, like, really Don Juan's way of opening his mind to the possibility of another
There were
realm.
multiple books, weren't there? It was like a whole
Yeah.
Yeah,
but they're not doing mushrooms out in the desert anymore, or peyote in the desert.
Welcome.
I always make that. Yeah. No fear and loathing, but it was an interesting question from Dan, because again, that comes back to a little bit to some people get caught into this because they want that quick trip. They want that quick awakening.
Exactly. They think they confuse another area, which could be a whole show. There's a big difference between the psychic and the mystical. Those are not the same things. So the mystical, it's interesting. We have psychic apparatus, but we also have mystical apparatus. So we have almost like three sets of sensories: the physical, the astral, and the mystical. The physical and the astral are kind of operating at the same evolutionary wavelength. So I can have a psychic experience. It's definitely a non-physical, and it's definitely telling me there's something beyond, but it's not an evolutionary experience. Whereas if you have a mystical experience, that is sort of the divine more knocking on your door. So many people confuse the two, and that's where some of the challenges can come in. You want to develop the mystical part of your nature, and as you do that, the psychic and the physical will kind of naturally flow into the states they need to be in. But many waken through the psychic because, again, like you're saying, Jason, if you're so entrenched in the physical sense of things and you have a psychic experience, That's not a physical experience.
Right.
And there's no other way to describe it. It's not delusional. It's not like a dream that you had. It is as real as something else. So that's telling you there is something that's not physical that's operating in this world. So the psychic wakes many people up because it does take them out of the physical sensing. But then that should be a spur to go even. Barbara used to say, why do you stop at the 6th floor when you can go to the penthouse? So, if the psyche is kind of like the 6th floor, ground floor is the material consciousness, why not go to the top and get connected to your true inner mystical nature?
Like, that's why I love the stories that people tell me, because they're I love hearing when somebody like Dan or Zach had their experience, because it's a moment in time that it is something that psychic experience turn their attention away from the everyday mudroom of life to the fact that things are operating and things are influencing your life every day that you have never realized. Be it spirits around you, guardian angels, reincarnation, all these things that if you just started to look a little more deeply, you would realize there's so much more meaning. There's so much more going on. It's not just everyday fight for survival, pay the bills. If life is just that, it's what are we doing? There's something so much deeper. It can make life a lot more meaningful. We got another caller I want to get to here. I don't know if the name's right here, so I won't say. Who do we got on the line? Says,
is it
hello.
me?
Yeah, that'd be you.
Okay. Tommy from Tampa.
Tommy from Tampa. Okay, I wasn't sure. I said Thomas, so I wanted to make sure. So,
you're
welcome to the show, Tommy.
Time. So it's 1 o'clock in the morning there. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Up late with us mystics.
Yeah. I had a experience. I was an unbeliever, and it's been about a year now that I had the experience. I rent a house from my cousin, and he was into a lot of like witchcraft and stuff like that. And I know he used Ouija boards and stuff like that in this house. But like I said, like I saw little lights flickering and stuff like that. Never nothing like really serious that I took serious. But it's kind of embarrassing and kind of stupid. I don't tell anybody. I haven't told anybody the story because I can't.
Yeah, I understand that.
Unbelievable. But I was in the house. I had a couple things happen that night, and I went to bed. I didn't think anything of it. And when I woke up in the morning, and this part, like, because I saw Ghostbusters and stuff like that, and I never thought like ectoplasm or whatever it's called. Like, I've seen it in the movies, but I never knew it was the actual thing or thought there was anything, because like I said, I was skeptic anyway. But I woke up completely nude on my stomach, which I don't sleep on my stomach, and I had the ectoplasm, I'm gonna call it, I don't know what it was, on my derriere part, my butt. And it wasn't like any kind of, I was thinking like, somebody broke in, like I got raped or something, but I'm not a heavy sleeper as well. Like I'll wake up pretty, like anything drop on the floor or anything, I wake up pretty easy. But I was slept straight through the night, and it had a sulfuric smell to it. It didn't have like a jelly or any kind of,
the stuff that was left on you, basically.
Yeah, correct. So there was a little bit on my pillow and stuff too. I don't know where that came from, but like I said, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm not afraid in the house. Like, I still had like little experience.
You said this was a year ago?
That was like, yes, this was a year ago. I haven't like talked to anybody. Like I said, like, because it's, I mean, just going to tell my buddies, hey, I got butt raped by a ghost. I'm not gonna. It's kind of awkward to talk about.
No, but you're not alone though. You're not alone. I mean, we've had Gavin Lee Davies on, who wrote Ghost Sex, which people took it as like, he's being funny. He wasn't. He has some really serious encounters in there, very detrimental to people who've had experiences like you. And it's not funny. People have gone through this, and who are you going to talk to?
So
exactly. And is that a real thing, the ectoplasm? I mean, I'm not. I know
no,
it's
it's
probably not
definitely real.
scientific
But
what I'm
let
calling
me,
it, but
can I
Yeah, let
understand?
Dimitri talk here.
So are you, I'm sorry, what was your name, sir?
Tommy.
Tom, are you saying you're living in a house with someone that practices witchcraft?
He's not here. It's my cousin, but I know what he's into and stuff, and he did a lot of that in the house. I never partook in any of that kind of stuff, but I know what
But it was
he
it was
does.
done in the house that you're in now.
Yeah, he did Ouija boards and seances. He did all that kind of stuff. But no, it's just me here now.
Okay,
So that
you're
was another
renting the
thing.
house.
Like,
You're renting the
like,
house, or did you buy it, or you're renting
yeah,
it?
I'm renting it.
You're renting it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would do a very strong purification of the house, because
Okay.
that's heavy duty stuff.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing witchcraft, you're willingly calling in the spirits, and they don't leave easily, and they will. I don't like to use that word haunt, but they can linger, and there are things you can do to essentially exercise the home,
Yeah.
so that you are free of it.
Mm.
I will share your personal experience, not as dramatic as what you described, but
Yeah.
I bought a home many years ago, and it was a probate house. Meaning the person that had lived there, died, and the house went to probate. Well, he died in the
Yeah.
house. He died of Agent Orange, from the days of the Vietnam era.
Wow. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, Barbara had taught me, purify your home before you get in there, but I was in a rush to get in there. The boxes hadn't even been unpacked. I was sleeping in the first night of there. I slept on the floor in the living room, and early in the morning, I am wakened up by this man strangling me. I'm thinking first this is a dream, right? But then I realized I'm not dreaming. I'm wide awake, and I'm seeing the hands, and he's throttling me, right? And I'm realizing, wow, this is some crazy stuff going on here. It took a while to shake the apparition, shall we say, but it turned out to be him. He never left the house. He was still there. He didn't even know he had died, and he thought I was an intruder, and he was trying to protect his home. So these energies can linger, and so I would light candles and say prayers, clear out that energy, so that none of that is with you. Now, in the aura, you can call on the golden light also for protection. The challenge is when we sleep at night, we're a little bit more vulnerable, right? We're relaxing, we're trying to go to bed at night. So we recommend asking, I don't know if you do any, well, you say, I think you do some meditations. It's a good idea to ask the white light to fill your room, to light some candles, gold of protection around your bed, to try to avert some of these things, so that you don't have these kinds of experiences. I know they can be pretty scary. Hopefully, this is not a common thing that you're having right now, but I
No,
would do that as a precaution.
one time.
Yeah, but it was ectoplasm it's sort of like a fluvia. It's a substance. It's a spiritual substance connected to the body, and yes, there are parts of it that are connected to the sexual energy, and it's a vital part of us. We want to preserve that ectoplasm and effluvia. But you'll be. I would just say, just be protected, and you'll be fine. But I would stay away from that friend that's practicing the witchcraft.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I don't do any of that. But I haven't even told my cousin about that. And it's,
Well, no,
like I
that's
said, embarrassing and unbelievable to me because I woke up. I don't remember any of it. Like it was,
Just what you woke up in the state you were in. I've been through a dark.
I didn't go to sleep naked or
No,
anything. I woke up naked and it smelled like rotten eggs in the room.
Yeah,
and then when
none of that's good. None of that's good.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah, none of that's good, and
you know
definitely.
What? If you don't feel comfortable there, rent another house. Go somewhere else.
Yeah, these things are parasitic.
But
though.
then I'd have to tell my cousin why I'm leaving. I don't want to tell anybody this. You guys I don't know, so I can. And you're knowledgeable on this kind of stuff. So
Well, this is Tommy. This is exactly why I started doing a show because I had a very dark entity experience at the age of 18 that tormented me for 4 months. It lifted me off my bed and threw me down 3 times. Okay, this thing attacked me. There are parasitic dark entity things out there. You are not alone. And you're definitely not
Yeah.
alone in your experience, because like I said, go check out Gavin Lee Davies' Ghost Sex Violation. It's not not comical anyway. He treats the subject very seriously, and you'll find other people's experiences. My recommendation to you is definitely Dimitri's, raise your energy, get your vibration higher. Take an Epsom salt bath to clear your energy. If you're feeling negative, I've recommended this to people in situations. Take an Epsom salt bath, clear your energy. These things are parasitic, and they want your energy to be down to leech onto you.
Yeah.
Avoid drugs and all that alcohol.
I don't drink either. That's the other thing. And like what he was saying, like with the experience of the strangling, if it was something actually I saw and experienced, I would probably have more of a, believe. I mean, I believe it happened. I know it happened, but I don't know if like a
Your
prank
brain's
or somebody broke in my
it's only
house,
been a
but I
year.
wake
You're going to be
up
questioning
and-
this for many years. Even
Oh,
after
yeah.
it stops, you don't have anything else happen. These experiences, especially if you've never had them before, you're going to be questioning for a long time. But you know it was real. Don't let that slide. You were in a dark way open to this other side. I don't like it to be this way for people to be open to this way.
Yeah,
but it has
I
made
have
you
no
aware there's
belief.
something definitely going on. Tommy,
Yeah.
thank you so much for calling in and sharing this experience tonight too. Just like I
Well,
said,
thank
you're not
you guys
alone.
for taking it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem, bud. You have a great night, man. Like you said, raise your energy.
All right, you too.
All right, bye. Callers like that's exactly why I do this show.
Yeah.
To know that they are not alone in that situation. Like you said, who is he going to talk to about that so many people have experiences, I think, all the time, and it's just hidden in society because they have no one to tell. They don't tell a soul. What guy is going to tell a soul about that?
Right. No, it's not a common thing to say. But you gave some good advice there, not to. First of all, if you do things like drinking and driving, it can open it up more.
Yes.
And it's not his fault. It's not he did something wrong.
No.
It's something that happened. And you do have to protect yourself. You do have to be aware there are, just like there are physical dangers in this world, there's psychic dangers.
I was interested reading your book. You talk about conscious traveling, I believe is how you call it, and astral projection. There's a difference.
Right.
We got 5 minutes before the last commercial break, but I do think it's important to talk a little bit about that. What is the difference between your conscious traveling and astral projection?
Right. So astral travel or astral projection is the ability to literally project yourself out of your body into your astral body, but you're still on the earth plane. You really haven't gone anywhere, but you've gone out of yourself physically, So it can be exciting because, actually, I didn't even know what it was. I had a few of these things when I was a kid. I didn't even remotely call it that, I would suddenly be, 3 houses down. And, one time I saw a mother and her daughter come out, and then I came back in again. It was just like, oh, okay. It just sort of happened, but you think they're kind of innocent. But the problem is, again, what this gentleman was talking about. There's some junk in this stuff here.
Yeah.
And when you do it, I remember this one lady told me she'd love to do it. She had the ability. And she said, one time I was trying to come back to my body, and there was a spirit trying to futz with my physical body. Well, I was out of it.
Yeah. I mean, that I think is a legitimate concern.
Yeah. And so it took a heck of a time to get rid of it. And I never did it again. I never went out of my body again. Now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I want to say I've had guests on in defense of them, too, that have come on that poo-poo all this worry about astral projection. I'm not going to say names right now, but I've had several guests that are totally preach astral projection, and I love them to death.
They're enamored by it. They're enamored by it. Because it is sensational. Again, the psychic is sensational, but it can be like a drug. It can be intoxicating. And then you can't stop doing it until you get into trouble, So the question we always ask is this evolving your soul? Or is this a curiosity shop? Barbara used to talk about the psychic like a 3-ring circus. It can be fun, but you don't go to the circus to evolve your soul, right? You go to the circus to be amused. And you do have to be careful because the lower entities work on the psychic belt. And they're much better at it than we are.
Yeah.
They can really, I don't know if you want to get into the spooky story about the trance medium. We could do it after the break.
Yeah, after the break. We'll leave that for the hanging. But I mean, honestly, my dark entity, I call it shadow person. I don't like to quantify things as demonic or anything like that, even though I do believe people have demonic experiences. Called to me to this location. It's a long story. It's in Paranormal Encounters 2 by Mike Ricksecker. I wrote it all out there for people, and there's more to it now. I feel that's related to aliens. I know there's a lot to it, the experience, and I'm still exploring it. But it changed me. It brought me to my brink, and I believe there are parasitic entities that exist that prey upon us, and they're in this astral dark realm. It called to me in dreams, me and another friend, out to these train tracks we didn't know at the time a bunch of people had died at. And then followed me home once we went out there to go check it out. And it tormented me for 4 months. I've run into mystics and people that are really into the New Age beliefs, and they like poo-poo that stuff. They don't want to talk about it, or I'm like, but this is real and it should be talked about it, because who else is going out there and having these things follow them or torment them? They have no one to talk to. They lose their mind. I could have lost my mind on this. I got lucky. I was saved by God. I really do. I called out to God, and I felt the presence of God. That's why I believe in a higher power.
That's why you do exactly in those situations. You call out to the divine. Exactly.
Yeah, the best, most immense love I've ever felt in my life. Only other time was when I saw the translucent image of my son Liam before he was born. I'm serious. Those 2 moments in my life, it's a feeling that I can't describe. It's just immense. Like, you were never alone. There's always someone there with you. Nothing to be afraid of ever in life. That feeling for that, I can't put into total words the feeling. And to me, that's God. That's the Force. Where may the Force be with you is the shirt I'm wearing right now. I say I'm into Jediism, but I don't believe in a God in a sitting on a throne. I believe in a force or a will that moves us through life, and it's love. And I just want more people to open up and realize that. And I want to discover it more too. And that's the reason I do the show, is for people like Tommy to call in and know they're not alone in their experience. You have somewhere to talk to and get advice. That's why I do this. And again, guys, we're going to open up the phone lines when we come back. We got a half hour left of the show. When we come back, the phone lines will be open. Wait till we come back. Call in again. I love hearing the experiences tonight. What awakened you? Be it dark. Sometimes it is dark things like that happen to me and happen to Tommy that really kick us in the pants, I think, sometimes, to realize, hey, there are things going on around you don't even understand. There's levels and levels of reality we don't even see interworking with us every day. And sometimes it can be a negative thing that can kick you in the pants. Sometimes it can be a mystical thing. Whatever it is, call in. Tell us about your experience when we come back from the short commercial break.
Intercepted the transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. Now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated. I will hear it.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and InterfaceDeath.net.
This is an APAC studio presentation.
Hi, I'm Barry, owner-operator of Barry's Barometer Barn. Lately, I bet you've been lying awake at night asking yourself, how many barometers do I really need? Well, at Barry's Barometer Barn, We think you need more than one. Otherwise, we're gonna go out of business. Remember, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we don't know the meaning of high-pressure sales. Come on, folks, buy another barometer. I'm trying to put my kids through college, I've got a family to support, and a secret mistress who isn't cheap.
Visit Barry's Barometer Barn, 000 Storm Drive. Come on, folks, buy a barometer. I'm Barry's older brother, Larry, and every time one of you people walk past the store without coming in, Barry beats me.
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
When Alex Gardner is asleep, he has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it, the scientists want it, but to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all, but he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now. Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the dreamscape.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do voices from beyond the cold case files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Heat 'em up. Do, re, be gone.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419. Or by Skype caller ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is Dimitri Moraitis. We're talking about a book he has co-authored with Barbara Martin, Heaven and Your Spiritual Evolution, a mystic's guide to the afterlife and reaching your highest potential. There's so much, time goes by so fast doing this show. There's so much more I want to get to with this guest tonight. We'll definitely have to have him back on to talk more if he's up for it. Because we haven't gotten into the astral realms. There's a great part of this book where he really takes you through the different levels of the astral realm and how the soul grows. It's so interesting. Highly recommend this book. I can't wait to finish it. And there's other aspects too, like, I had a list of questions here to get to, like, we talked a little bit, what are ghosts, what happens with your body when you're, does it matter if you're cremated? He had a list of questions here I wanted to get to. Time goes by fast, and I still do want to take your phone calls. If you do want to call in, I can take a couple more tonight. The lines, make sure they are open. They are open now. You can call in. Numbers are 219-230-4444, just as Rob just said. 260, and then I'm going to forget this last number, I think. 260-94. No, I'm going to mess it up. Let me pull it up. I got it on the banner if you're watching. Here you go. There's the numbers. 260-225-9419 is the other number. There's Skype ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. Call in. The lines are open, but let's go ahead and get back to our guest. Oh, now I lost Rob, too. Jamie had to go. I know that she had something come up, but I lost Rob, too. Oh, and then I missed a call. I am way off of it. Somebody called me. Call back. I'll take your calls. Our guest is Dimitri Moraitis. I probably butchered your name all night long. So sorry.
No, you got it right. You got it right. Good Greek name.
Yeah. So I really did find fascinating, like, these different levels of kind of like soul evolution that you went through,
Right.
the ashram. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And by the way, the book is beautifully illustrated. We worked with a fine artist, and he had worked with another clairvoyant for years, Flower Newhouse. So he was used to kind of doing these spirit world depictions. So he really helped to get you into the feeling of what the other side is all about.
I actually am really interested in those pictures in the book, what the source of those were. I haven't gotten that far to read. I kind of took a glance, like, oh, where are the pictures? Oh, wow, what are these?
Yeah. No, we have them hanging. They're oil paintings. They're at the Institute.
Yeah.
So we have our center in Encinitas, which is sort of San Diego, California, and we do the online. Thank God we were doing video long before the COVID thing, so we kind of got, God bless, we braved COVID pretty good, despite all the challenges that many people had. But yes, as you said before, when you were quoting the Bible, many mansions, right? There are many realms on the other side. These are planes of consciousness, but they're also literal places that you can go to. So, for example, the next level from here is the astral. The astral is a Latin word. It means starry kind of universe, the astral, the starry world. And there are 7 levels of the astral. And within it, each level, there's 7 subplanes. So there's 49 gradations of astral matter that we are evolving through. Now, some of these we have passed a long time ago, back in our, shall we say, caveman days and things like that. Others we're evolving through right now, and others maybe we're still aiming to get through. Now, the evolution, the one that's real important, the fourth, which is kind of midpoint between 1 and 7, is a very pivotal plane, because this is often where we have our spiritual awakening, where we realize, the material world or the intellectual mind, or, this isn't as good as it gets. There's definitely something more.
Right.
And once you have that awakening, it awakens you to the higher astral worlds. Now, the 4th plane is the one that we said is so similar to Earth. If you were on the 4th astral plane right now, it would feel very familiar to you. You would not be shocked by anything that you saw on there. Although the astral worlds has its unique environments that are unique to that realm. But as you go to the higher astral, things start to change. And the 5th one, for example, it does start to take a little bit what we call the heavenly hue. On the 5th world, you do get to do things. You learn a big thing in inner worlds is the understanding of mind over matter. Here we have the physical encasement, which makes that process a lot slower. But in the astral, especially the higher astral, your ability to manifest through mind is greatly increased. And one of the things you can do on the 5th plane and higher is do what they call that flow walking. Have you ever had that dream where you were sort of flying a little bit?
Oh, a ton.
Yeah, you can do that in the higher astral worlds.
I've had a lot of those dreams.
Yeah. and it's a skill to learn, but it's like that, you know. Then as you continue to evolve, you grow to the what we call the sixth plane. That's a very spiritual realm where you really start to get in tune with what we call the immortal nature. You know, we have this. Okay, I'm Dimitri Moraitis in this incarnation, but my last life I wasn't Dimitri Moraitis. I had a different persona. So all these personas we've had are kind of like the different parts an actor plays. But you've got to get behind the persona to see the real you. Yogananda talked about finding the real self, the self-realization with a capital S. And that is a lot of the journey through the sixth realm. As you keep growing to the seventh, that's when you start to have the true mystic awakening. That's when you start to have what we call the enlightenment, the God within experience. A lot of what we define as the mystical life is life on that beautiful seventh astral plane. And then from there, you eventually graduate to the heaven world. So in our book, we say you don't go to heaven, you grow to heaven.
You're right.
Heaven's an evolutionary process. And that's sort of like spiritual headquarters. That's where the true heavenly, the angelic guidance is coming from. That's where the divine light is coming from. Those are the realms we're aspiring to reach. But you have to build that heavenly awareness here in your physical body. Yogananda said, you know, you're trying to see God face to face while in a physical body. You mentioned you had an experience where you knew God, or whatever we want to call that ultimate, stepped in to play a key moment in your life when you called out, and God is there. You know, God is as real can get. We may have our human conceptions of God, which is clouded by centuries of belief, but underneath it is the real experience, and the mystic is trying to have that experience for themselves. So, and it is something that can happen, but it's a journey. It's a long, beautiful journey to get there. And in the book, we have these 8 illustrations, and at first we said, well, did we do a travel log of the other side? You know, we had to show 8 images of Earth. Which 8 images would you show? You know,
right?
Yeah, you know. But we decided to show the journey. So each of the 8 is like the next step in the spiritual journey.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I got somebody waiting on the phone line. We're going to get you. I called them back because they were trying to call in. And for some reason, I kept hanging up. 860 area code. Hang in there. We're going to get your call in just a sec. But what it was making me think about, you know, my spiritual experience, I was taken, you know, 2 times. One was really dark, and one was really filled with light, seeing my child before they were born. But both those instances of feeling that love, what I felt at that moment, all I can say is I know from that feeling that whatever it is, God, the force, whatever it is, it's never going to give up on you.
Right.
And knowing that feeling, I've thought about this deeply over the years, is knowing that's for everyone. Bad, right. Evil, good. Right. Everybody's on a different timeline of their journey spiritually or whatever. Some people are playing the bad guy right now. Maybe that's the karma they got to play out or do, or the role they want to play. I have always speculated about these things, but in the end, even the worst of the worst eventually are being worked. They're working out some kind of lesson.
Right.
And that's what I figured out in life.
Free will. You know, I love what you said when you were talking about your experience of God. You said it's love.
Yeah.
You know, it's not someone lording. You know, we have this image of like a lording presence telling you.
And I've always had angst towards that. Like, no, that's not
true.
it.
It's not true. Yeah, it's not true. God is love, but there are spiritual laws. Just like there's physical laws of life. You break them, you know, I don't know how to swim, I'm going to sink. I could be the sweetest person in the world, but I got to learn the laws of water, you know. So when we break spiritual laws, we do sometimes feel suffering and pain, but it's not God, you know, chastising us. It's that we haven't learned that law yet. And this loving presence is trying to teach us, is trying to help us. And yes,
it can be the hand that kind of pushes you into the water when you're too afraid to go in. You know, well, it's the force.
I remember when I first learned to ski, we had a friend, and I was like, oh, I'm going down this mountain, and he basically pushed me off the mountain.
Yeah. That's God's loving hand.
But I'm glad he did. I might have checked
right.
It out.
You wouldn't learn without that.
Yeah.
You know, if you that's why I've always loved Star Wars and the idea of the Force, because I do look at it as a will or a force that moves life on for these lessons and this experience.
There is no evil greater than love. I mean, that can defeat love. It's not
Love,
like
yeah.
God's on one shoulder, the devil's on the other. It's this beautiful oneness of life, and evil is really the resistance of that. That's all that it really is. And it, it's like, we look at the moon and it appear to be the same size as the sun, but it's only because the moon's a lot closer. They're not even close to the same size. So sometimes we're so close to, unfortunately, an evil experience, it can feel overpowering, but compared to the divine experience, it's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
So we've got to stay strong when we may be sometimes going through the fire trials, because goodness is there. And I'm just, again, so glad you mentioned love. Remember, the whole evolutionary process is paved in love. We put the quote in there of Mother Teresa: it's not what you do that matters as much as the love you put into what you do that matters.
Exactly. Beautiful statements. All right, I want to get to this phone call before we run out of time. Who do we got on the line?
Hi, Jason. It's me. It's Ariana.
I was hoping it was you. I saw you said you were trying to call in and got voicemail. I'm like, I think that's her, so I called you back. So thank you for trying to call in, but I got you.
I'm glad I answered. Hi, Dimitri. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
I've learned over the years and quite a lot of experiences that in this life I walk between the human life that I'm living and the other side. Between, with everything on the other side. And I find that I've learned a lot because of it. And I do astral travel, and I've seen angels and things like that. And I'm glad you answered the thing with the astral travel. You had said something about you weren't sure that it's. Maybe I took it wrong.
Not that it's not that it could be
something
dangerous.
About not doing it properly or bringing bad things or something with astral traveling. Maybe I interpreted it wrong.
Are you asking what about astral? Well, the point with astral travel is you are going out of your body, but you're staying around, shall we say, the earth belt, and you're sort of just sort of experiencing. The challenge with that is because the earth belt is so mixed with energies and psychic energies as well, that sometimes you can kind of unintentionally, of course, hook into something that isn't so wonderful, and it can be challenging. Now, Jason was asking before the difference between that and what's called consciously going to the inner world. So consciously going to the inner world is a very different scenario. First of all, that's not happening by itself. You are always escorted when you're doing the conscious traveling. The angels are actually taking you there. You're not doing it yourself. And they're with you the entire time. And you are taken to the other side there. I had an experience of that early on when I started with Barbara. And, it was, remarkable. I mean, I was in a setting that was very pretty, obviously. But what really struck out for me was the divine presence. God was in the atmosphere, so you didn't question if there was a God. I was not on the earth plane. I was on the other side, and then when I, coming back, I was on a high for 3 days after all of that. But then I also realized they weren't just trying to give me a nice experience. They were trying to tell me I have to build that godly vibration here. I've got to build up that spiritual power here. So that's the lesson of the other side. We're going to go back to that world. We don't have to worry about it. We're going to go. We're all going to go home when it's our time. But what we don't realize is the other side is inspiring us right now. Every great idea, every invention, anything that has benefited us has been inspired from those inner realms. And if we can connect with that inspiration more, bring in that higher vibration, that's what you really want to do. And that's what's going to evolve. And if you are having these, other worldly experiences, Oh yeah, she's commenting about the painting. That's actually the same artist that's doing the work in
It
the
is
book.
beautiful.
Yeah. Anyway, that's our point about the other side. So they are two different. Anyway, it's our comment on that. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Well, Zuriana,
well,
I wanted to say is that you've called in before and talked about your astral travels. You do mention you do have celestial beings that come to you, so maybe you're kind of
Yeah.
already doing what he's talking about. It's beyond astral travel.
Oh, I've been doing a lot of things for years, and astral traveling to different places with loved ones on the other side, things like that. It's not usually much of a choice for me, but I can, through lots of learning, I can either participate or observe. And whatever teacher or angel or spiritual being that's with me, they do make sure I'm safe, and they respect whatever choice.
Just to say, it sounds like you always have guides with you when you talk about these experiences.
Oh, I always do.
Yeah.
I always do.
Yeah, as long as you're in control of the situation.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing, that whether you initiate it or not, that this is something that you're sort of controlling, not controlling, but again, in this sort of grounded way. So it sounds like you're not feeling like you're kind of doing stuff that you don't have control over, but just, we always are cautious there. So as long as you are, the angelic support is there. And again, just, again, it's hard, without knowing the details of what you're experiencing, it's hard to comment more specifically. Just from our experience, we just generally say, astral travel, be careful, because there are some potential dangers. But yes, if you're protected, and if you're actually going to the inner worlds, which is different from astral travel, then that's a whole different story. Then you're that's a wonderful experience.
Yeah. Lately, I've been seeing a lot of angels and angelic beings, and
great.
It's very, let's say it's very. I can't describe the colors, but it's a very, I would say, good feeling, overwhelming feeling of love and
beautiful
care, things like that.
Well, then it sounds like you have a good rapport with them. That's wonderful. I mean, we all
hope so.
We don't all get to tune into them. People don't realize we all have angelic support. Even if we don't, someone's listening, I've never even experienced an angel, so I guess I don't have any. No, you do. I love that line in the Talmud that says, "For every blade of grass, there's an angel bending over saying, grow." So you've obviously earned the right to see them. It's something you developed perhaps even in a past life, but it is something all of us have.
Yes, I do agree with that.
Well, Zuriana, thank you so much for calling in. We're trying to. I had to call you back, but thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Jason. And you guys have a great night and enjoy your vacation.
Yeah,
and thank you for
see you in a couple
answering the
weeks.
question, Dimitri. And hopefully I can get the book and learn a little bit more.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Good luck in your spiritual journey.
Okay.
We're almost done with the show. God dang, time goes by so fast. There's so much I
I have
want to
to
talk
say,
about.
it's not a short show, but we covered a lot. You did a great job, Jason.
I know. Well, there's still so much more I wanted to get into. Like one of the questions. I mean, I had a guest on who's basically in communication with a dead rock star. I won't get too much into that, but no, it's true. I believe in people's experiences.
That's all I have to say. It better not be Elvis.
No, it isn't. It isn't. It's not somebody huge. It isn't. But she got. I believe in her experience. I really do. And she wrote a whole book about it. And I'll just say, Joyce Isaacson. She's a wonderful lady, and she really truly means she's had these experiences. And like Tommy is the guy from Badfinger. He was a bass player in there, but love their book. really brings you into these different realms of heaven. I was really thinking about her book a lot, reading yours, that she is having some kind of experience. She's taken, I think, in a way by Tommy, or shown certain things about the other side. I think people have spirits that guide them and show them these places at times and connections. Hers is, I'm still trying to understand her experiences, but I think there's a lot of people like her and Ziriana that are seeing these realms or having the experiences. It's just, getting us to a point where we can openly talk about it and share about that.
Yeah,
There's more
and
than
try to
this
sort it all
limited.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Now, you're bringing up, again, this could be a whole other thing here, is, we are, we come from the world of spirit, and we're going back there, and we're connected to it now. And we are all taken periodically to the inner worlds while we sleep. There's a whole subject there about what happens during the sleep time. And it's not like every night that it happens, but it does happen. And yes, there are these inner, now some may bring back some memory of that, but often we're closer to the world of spirit during the sleep time. Some have thought it's almost like dying, getting reborn the next morning again, And so some may bring back some memory of being taken to a beautiful place on the other side.
I've had this experience myself.
Well, then you know, yeah, that there really is, these other worlds. And it's sometimes they take you there for healing. Sometimes they take you there for instruction. Sometimes they take you there because something is going on, or maybe even a spiritual instruction. I understand that it's happening because there's sort of an evolutionary process happening on the whole planet right now, that this is going to be increasing in the years ahead.
That's what I wondered.
Yeah, so you don't be surprised you have more people on your show the next time you're saying, you know what, I was sleeping and then I remember being in this beautiful place, and it may become more commonplace because the I know people think sometimes the world is falling apart, but the inspiration we've gotten from the higher is yes, we're going through growing pains right now, but the world is actually getting better. We're heading for a new day. And we have
always
to go through these
darkest
darkest before dawn. Yeah.
Dawn, yep.
Or what Barbie used to say, the tail end of the scorpion. Where's the venom? At the very tip of the tail, And yes, sometimes this ugliness is coming out, but it's a little bit like there's been this pus, and you have to open the wound. You have to let the pus come out to clean the wound. And we're still in that pus age right now, where all this crap.
Yeah, really, that's a good description of now.
But it's going to pass, and there will be. So it's important that we don't fall for the gloom and doom. That you make sure whatever you need to do in your life, you're doing it, and you don't get discouraged by bad news on the TV or people around you saying, it'll never happen. Keep doing what you need to do.
Yeah, don't waste your time with politics. That's one.
Yeah.
Don't get caught up in all this stuff. It's easy. I fall victim to it every day, all the time, and I try not to.
Well, we have to be civic minded because we're in a democratic world, but we don't have to fall into the nonsense that's going on.
Right, exactly. Yeah. The division and the craziness.
Totally,
That's the worst part I've seen in the last number of years, is so much division between people. And if anything, I hope we get through this, the next, if this is growing pains, that's the thing we're going to get over, and get over the division.
Exactly.
Stop. Somebody can disagree with you politically or spiritually, but people need to have more empathy and less judgment. And I don't know it all. You don't know it all. We're all different people having different experiences right now. It's just like, got to get over yourself a little bit and just,
respect
let it go.
Person. And you may have differences, but respect the person,
Yeah.
And then come from there. No, we will. It seems a little, this country is learning some tough lessons right now, but I have faith that we will get through this. And it may be generational. It may be our kids that figure it out better than us.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But it does feel like we're going through like growing pains right now, that we're on the verge of something, I hope, good. That's but it is there's a lot of things out there that want to feed off your fear or fuel your fear.
Well, but it's easier to with that they're saying right now, a negative message travels across the internet 5 times faster than something beneficial and true, because people get to that sensational, it's into their instinct, the fear kicks in. What does they say in news? If it bleeds, it leads.
Leads, yep.
Yeah,
and that's exactly. I mean, it's just as parasitic as the negative entities on the other side. They keep feeding, for ratings, the most negative, bold headlines to draw your attention in. Like, oh my God, end of the world.
Exactly.
It just seems
things can happen now, right? It's not news now; it's breaking news.
Breaking news.
Everything's
heard it here first.
Oh, what happened? What happened?
Yeah. And we have the internet and social media and everybody arguing on there, and it's everything's a tool, can be used for good or bad. If I didn't have the internet and social media, I wouldn't have this show. So
exactly.
And people connect.
We have to learn, but I have confidence too. If we, at least up to this point, if we got over the nuclear potential disaster moment of the 60s and stuff, I think we can conquer the informational age. This is an amazing tool we have, right? The internet right now. And yes, you're right. It can be used for very dark and evil purposes, or it can be used to enlighten. And we have to be the warriors of light. We have to be the ones that are trying to bring in the good and overconquer the evil that's going on right now.
And peace is every step. That's what I keep saying. Like, you want peace, then you got to give it too. And it's easy to get wrapped up in stupid nonsense that us humans get wrapped up into.
It really is. It really is. Like, we have so many important things to discuss, and we're talking about stuff that's like, come on now. Because it's easy. Like you said, people want easy. They can pick up one thought and just stay on that simple thought. And life isn't that simple. There's just more to it than that.
Right. If anything I do on this show, it's to help. I just want to help awaken people to that. Just one little concept. There's so much more to this existence than you could even realize.
What do they say? A democratic society only works when the citizens are informed.
Exactly.
You have to be informed if you're going to make an important decision, and not by opinion, but by fact.
Yeah, that's why we keep electing idiots, but. I'm not going to get into that.
Story. And that gets into money and who's got the bigger purse strings and all that kind of stuff.
Imagine how much better society would be, though. I mean, like I keep saying this on the show lately, how much better if we just took on just a few of these concepts, that life is much more than this, that we are on all different parts of a journey, and people were a little more empathetic, a little less judgmental. How much just a little bit more of us doing that every day, or feeling that way, or looking at or changing our perspective would change the world.
It would. Well, we have to be the change we want to see, as Gandhi says.
Yes,
be the change
exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to help. I'm working on myself every day. Like not to judge people. It's human instinct, and trying to better myself spiritually that way. And I'm truly enjoying the book. And I'm going on vacation. I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks, but I can't wait to finish this book. Great. Heaven and Your Spiritual Evolution: A Mystic's Guide to the Afterlife and Reaching Your Highest Potential. Highly recommend this. Before we go, I want you to make sure you get out your information website where people can reach you.
Yes. So the website is spiritualarts.org. We have a nonprofit where we teach on metaphysics. We do online classes, or you can join us if you're in Southern California. And we have a series of books. We have one on the aura and healing. They're available in bookstores or online. But again, the website is spiritualarts.org. Please check us out. We'd love to meet with you and talk with you and be a fellow spiritual traveler.
Well, Dimitri, it's been a true honor to have you on this show. I'd love to have you on again, because I feel like there's so much more we could talk about. And I definitely want to check out the other books.
How well you handled the 2.5 hours. You did a great job.
I used to do a 2-hour show, and I would always be like, man, I'm out of time. Do a 3-hour show. I'm still running out of time, I swear. Thank you again, Dimitri. You were great. All right, guys, that's it for the show. We will be back in 2 weeks, because I'm going on vacation. Yes, I will, down in Florida. Hopefully I get to meet Rob. I don't know what happened tonight. Rob might have had to leave something. Jamie messaged me that something came up. Hopefully everything's all right with her. But we will be back in 2 weeks. Same bad time, same bad channel. Sunday nights, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Central, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific time. We are a live show. Check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And we're also on the Paranormal Radio app on Talkstream. Check us out there. Don't forget to follow, subscribe. Thank you to everybody who shares out the show. Keep telling people about Paranormal Soup, an open forum and a place where we can talk about all the things weird and unusual without any judgments. Or, this is just a place like Tommy that called in tonight. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. Nothing to be afraid of calling the show. We will not judge you. I believe in your experience. That's why I do this show, so we all have a place we can talk about these things. And putting it together, just realizing there's so much more to this world and this materialistic society we were living in. Open your minds, people. That's what we're doing here every Sunday night. All right, guys, have a great night. See you in a couple weeks.